Hello everyone, we hope you enjoyed our previous game, and we're here now in the elimination matchup for SCS tonight. My name is Collegiate, joined here by Light Rose. Good to be into this one, and we got a matchup that kind of splits right down the middle here.
Yeah, kind of a you saw the best, now let's see the rest. We're going from the top all the way to, well, what some could be considered the bottom. I mean, it's just calling it as it is. I mean, we're seeing these two teams being eliminated. Well, they face some good teams. I mean, Collegiate Connoisseurs, their first game was against Parabellum. I think they've had a better strength of schedule compared to EQV4 when getting here. So we'll see if that kind of actually plays out as really getting into the roster. Talking about Collegiate Connoisseurs, that is a team that, well, we've seen some star players from their side.
Yeah, I feel like Collegiate Connoisseurs do have players that can make serious impact. Coming from, these collegiate teams, they move into more of a pub stack type of situation here in SCS, so it's a little different. You look at a lot of the collegiate teams in the way that they play, you know these people in real life. You play with them night and day, and there's more of a practice kind of team element there, versus when you're in SCS and you're just playing how you want to feel, being able to make those calls on the fly. It's just a little bit different, and we'll get you the roster here for Collegiate. It's Wacko, RNO, Mustard, Deson, and as well Kosa there at the end. We do have a substitution for Kosa tonight. It'll be Spaz who comes onto the server.
Yeah, so Kosa just kind of taking a little bit of a seat right now. I think they're having some, it would be a ping issue, but talking about this Collegiate Connoisseurs roster, there's kind of similar problems with both teams and similar strengths. Collegiate Connoisseurs, Wacko and Deson do pull a lot of the heavyweight on defense on the roam. You can count on them to get opening picks, continue to really dominate when it comes to drawing attention and utility. But that kind of comes with a drawback. If they get taken out very early on, well, then the rest of your opponents just kind of got to focus on the side, and there isn't as much strength when it comes to defending that.
When you play that more kind of a pub stack style, you're going to be exposed to some of those early casualties, right? If you're kind of out somewhere, and it's not like, you got the strat, the Valcam's here, there's a guy that's going to play this position and he's going to fall back. No, you're out there, you got an area, you're going to try to hold the offense back as far as possible. On the other side of the picture, now that we got Solus in the fray, you have to basically full commit to that very aggressive, just come in and take your fights kind of play style.
Yeah, we'll see if Solus has any impact with both of these teams, whether or not she'll be banned. It is exciting to see kind of how different levels utilize her, and we'll see if she has any real impact on how these teams play as well. We talked about Collegiate Connoisseurs. Let's talk about now about EQV4. They're a very similar style of team, and the roster with Zez, Duke, Semi, Zach, and Z. The real stars here, as we saw in Collegiate Connoisseurs with Wacko and Deson, it's Zez and Duke, who are kind of that roamers on defense that can do a lot of the hard work, and if they get taken out early, then the attack can really focus on the side. That's exactly what I was saying when saying they're very similar styles of play with really similar strengths and similar weaknesses.
And when the EQ roster originally came in back in the previous season of SCS, they were kind of a roster that really shook things up, had a surprising run, had some good victories early on in their season, and unfortunately, it's just been a different level of competition for SCS this season, and EQ have not been able to really get in there and make any serious ground, and of course, we're into a best of 3 tonight, but it's elimination. The loser goes home, and the winner has still got a challenging road left ahead in our Swiss bracket.
Yeah, and I think that is where the strengths of schedule that we talked about earlier. EQV4, they played Aerial Arise, did not have a fun time there. And then they played HK Rebels, which could be considered more their style, and they still really got beat up. And then you look at Collegiate Connoisseurs, with their game against Parabellum, they looked decent, especially some of the players with Wacko and Deson, but going over the maps, it is a best of 3, which doesn't include Villa, Clubhouse, or Oregon. We are in for a little bit of a treat tonight, Reese.
I think Oregon is a smart ban for EQ. They've just gotten beat up on it so far. Have not had a lot of luck on the attacks for that map. So eliminate that one. Go somewhere a little bit different. Skyscraper comes up first, one that we enjoyed in our previous series as a decider there. And Bank second. I think a map that's going to start to come into the pool a little bit more because it's so large. It can really just become a defensive funhouse when you've got so many areas that you can hide. And with, the new operator Solus, Bank has so many nooks and crannies. You might not have the intel resources to be able to fully clear it out.
And it's not too surprising that Bank, we're seeing Bank for Collegiate Connoisseurs. I think they might have chosen Skyscraper, but I like Collegiate Connoisseurs on Bank. That is where they went to against Parabellum, and they put up a bit of a fight. Going over to predictions, it's another one that's kind of split a little bit favored towards Collegiate Connoisseurs, and I think that a lot of that comes down to, you know, the fact that they were able to play Parabellum. I'm repeating that over and over, but it shows how good they can play up against teams that are considerably better than them.
Right, you know, putting 3 rounds on Parabellum is a big thing when you compare it to some other, you know, results against just your average Joe Schmo team that you've got showing up here. And we'll start it off on Skyscraper. I'm going with Collegiate Connoisseurs as well. I think it's the smart man's bet here. They've had some strong results. They feel like they maybe just got a little bit more experience up against the EQ V4 team, who are coming out of that amateur scene, and I've been here and there warming up in ranks. So, you know, maybe EQ V4 is going to have a little bit of a lead if they can get in here early and really make some energetic strides.
I am expecting EQV4 to get the lead, and that's because they're starting out on the defense. The glaring weakness that both of these teams have is their attack. They struggle to coordinate, communicate, really synergize on all of their attacks. It's why HK Rebels were able to absolutely dismantle the heck out of EQV4. So don't kind of say, oh, the game is over when you see potentially EQV4 maybe get a 4-2, 5-1. I'm expecting very, very one-sided defenses tonight, but potentially if one of these teams to try to shut down these 2-star players, maybe Collegiate Connoisseurs can take out Duke and Zez. They start to put some attacking rounds together. It's really going to be about how good that attack can be, what they can grab together. But, well, Twitter, it is split 50-50, Reese.
Yeah, the social vote just comes right down the middle, as close as you can get it there, and I think that just about sums up the way that this game is going to play out. We'll drop now into our operator vetoes and see how this one does play out, and I think it's going to be maybe a game that relies a little bit more on kind of momentum, because you mentioned we're expecting these halves to be real drastic, kind of play right towards the way that each map does favor towards attackers or defenders, and if you can't have that coordination, when you come out of an attack half into the defense, Lyros, you might just not have enough gas left in the tank to make any potential comeback run that you might need.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be a real toll on some mentals just to try to absolutely take on that insurmountable difference between you and the enemy. So keeping it close should be the play. And well, with the bans, it's not anything too crazy. I mean, we could talk about the Warden a little bit, but I think on Skyscraper that could be a pretty normal ban. We see a lot of smoke plays, see a lot of Ying, so him going off the board means that you're going to be able to do a lot of those things a little bit better. And with a zombie following through, it's pretty normal. It's not going to be map defining.
I like Azami, just kind of get her off the board here, won't have to worry about that as much, and there's the Solus pick, which just comes right off the fray. The Collegiate roster is going to show us a nice couple of picks there as well. They're going to bring the Monty in the glass.
Karaoke T, though. Collegiate Connoisseurs, they're kind of bringing out the crazy plays. We got Monty, we got Glass. This is actually something I saw last week against Bank, that Collegiate Connoisseurs tried to run Bank, or tried to run Monty on the basement of Bank, and it really didn't work out. They felt discommunicated, which is something that they struggle with on the attack, same as EQV4, and it just didn't really work in their play style. It was always something where, yeah, they gave a little bit of resources into the Montaigne push, but they also put a little bit of resources into that roam clear, so none of their goals were really as strong as they should be. So I want to see how they play around this Monty, and whether or not we're going to see that more on the attack.
Well, apologies there. I just had to drop out for a quick second. But, yeah, either way, I think you had some good points there. Whatever you said, who knows? Either way, we'll continue on here. And Karaoke comes up in the first one. The Glass, I feel like, is definitely something that comes out of Collegiate with a little bit of inspiration there. The smokes, just be able to obscure the sight lines. Buster's going to bring a couple as well there. And the shields, I feel like, have maybe seen a little bit more of an uptick nowadays. We had Mr. B, who hit an insane clip with the shield earlier. It's like a 2 versus 4 on this very same site, so we'll see if Collegiate Connoisseurs can match that expectation.
Yeah, it was something that's basically what I was talking about before, is how Collegiate have used the shield in the past, how they've used, Galaz smoke plays, and I haven't truly been inspired by what I see, but it's a different day, it's a different team, different map. I think if Collegiate Connoisseurs do kind of wow me with this first play, then maybe we'll see a different team, but it's kind of the same. They're dedicating some to the roam player and some to the Montaigne bushes. They're already getting close to executing. Pushing in with Wacko, you have Mustard on the right side, getting close to the site, so they're dedicating some to out of the site, but already with Zach taken off the board, we could see a lot more dedication to the actual execution.
Glass still just continuing to look on here, kind of monitor the situation. Collegiate Connoisseurs had a little burst of momentum, sort of slowed it down a little bit. Now they're going to try to get the Osa out towards that karaoke window. The bodies continue to stack up here for the Collegiate Connoisseurs, though. Getting rid of the Jaeger now could be the opportunity to strike.
I mean, we saw a Warden ban from Collegiate. This could be a reason why Wacko's able to entry on the glass. We haven't seen entry glass since that rework where he kind of got to stand still, but maybe Wacko will change some hearts in the end. There's a lot of time for Collegiate to work with. Not as many bodies for them to take out, so I really like Collegiate's odds because they don't have to push the envelope. Mustard is in the site, and if he has the angle, he could just absolutely start to put that diffuser down, but that smoke canister, it's going to take a lot of health, and it forces him to reposition. Maybe this will be the turning point that EQV4 needs as they take out Arno.
A great little snatch and grab there onto the Monty as well. Some activity, though, from the Glaz and the Thermite. Spaz finally able to hop in. Still will need to recover the diffuser, though. Zez just sort of hiding in the meanwhile. Isan might have just merely seen him there. It'll be the Nomad to rush on, charge forward against the Melusi. Another flash. Zez has to make his move, but he's just getting boxed in, tucked back into the corner, fully flashed out and pinched from both sides. Collegiate Connoisseurs have got it going here in the first attack on Sky.
And, well, it was getting close, but it still felt like Collegiate Connoisseurs had control over the end. They had the information they need. They had the utilities, great usage of the flashbangs. So, well, I mean, that's the usage of the Monty that I was kind of looking for when I needed to see Collegiate, as they're once again bringing the Monty, maybe bringing the Osa as well with Spaz as EQ. They're going to try karaoke again. You have to think that they're going to try something different. Expect the Monty this time, because I mean, I'm sure they didn't have that from the beginning. I know that the Monty is more of a standard pick when it comes to Skyscraper and Karaoke T, but I think the positioning could be a little different just to make sure that the Monty doesn't have as much impact.
Yeah, you always have to be kind of cautious around the Monty. You can't just let him kind of creep in. You don't want to overreact, right, and, be focusing totally on him. That's going to be your downfall. But Crow made a point earlier, I think it was something along the lines of a solo Monty is a useless Monty. And that's what you got to do. You got to fight your way through, get those isolations against the attackers. And if you can do that, it's really no problem. However, I feel like just coming out of the black balcony here for this site, there's not a lot of areas the defense can post up and say, hey, you go no further.
That is very true. They're bringing the same set of operators as well. I mean, there's not anything like a Capcan Legion where, Monty, he steps on that goo mine. He's going to have to unextended shield and pull that goo mine out of his foot. So I think semi-smoke grenades did a great job of forcing the Monty in an unfavorable position. But it can't be just on the smoke. You're going to have to see players underneath, maybe just putting pressure. But Collegiate have done a good job of going underneath and making sure that there aren't any roamers that really are able to do that. So right now, every part of their attack was working in that previous one, but it's also because EQV4 aren't really trying to go for a dedicated roam. They still have all their players up on that second floor, maybe some a little bit farther offside over by that office area, but it's still a very similar style of defense.
Well, you can tell they're definitely hip to the Monty this time, introducing Melusi's Banshee. They'll try for the impact. Only does a tiny smidge of damage onto Mustard there. Maybe not as much purchase as you were really hoping for. Mustard able to get past initially. A lot of Banshees over in this particular area. They've had the decision made to go ahead and reinforce off the top of that black wall. I like that call. Don't allow the Monty an area where he can just walk in. Just keep him from moving forward, and if you've got a crossfire set up between these 2 points, it really is not going to be easy for your Monty to make any headway.
I mean, interesting enough, Collegiate Connoisseurs are not bringing a hard breach, so they cannot get through that wall. They don't have any can openers, no ace, nothing. So it's just going to be these doors that Mustard is going to try to fit into. I think that benefit fits EQV4 immensely, unless Spaz is able to find a pick, which as long as EQV4 just stay back, wait, and force Collegiate to actually push them, I think the odds of them taking this round are graded immensely, especially now that Spaz cannot just easily take this window. It's a much different defense from EQ4, a lot more conservative, but Collegiate also had some changes that I think hurt them. So it's really going to have to be a struggle here in these last 50 seconds for Collegiate to get onto the site, throw smoke everywhere, hope Wacko finds a kill, and of course have Mustard slap that diffuser down, as there is one less defender on EQ, but there's also one less attacker, as this timer is really going to hurt this attack.
Well, it feels like EQV4 have really started to get a bit more up in the face of the offense. However, they start to recoil back as they understand Collegiate Connoisseurs are not having a great go of it when it comes to actually getting in there and finding an opportunity for the plant. Mustard is careful to make sure he does not get hit on that flank side from over by Geisha, as he still just kind of maintains the coverage, but Wacko lets one slide on through, and Spaz has to hit the go button here, runs right past the bandit, and this shield is causing a major log jam. The Monty up in the face, and it'll be the 416 to find 2, closed down there by the Malusi. The defense are able to rattle it back on the reattempt to that same site.
I know this is really pertinent to the actual execution. I just liked it at the end where you saw the little smoke, like, bounce off of the Monty's shield. Like, he timed it at the perfect time and it just ricocheted. Like I said, not really pertinent to how EQV4 won that defense, but I think they didn't really change anything besides their positioning. It was really Collegiate Connoisseurs. They hurt themselves. They hadn't had any angle for Mustard to walk in over to Karaoke, and then they just had to funnel themselves, of which the smoke canisters were able to drain more time. Collegiate didn't really have all the entries that they wanted. Spaz couldn't get anything on the windows. EQV4 didn't allow themselves to get picked off like they did in that first round, so the timer was their best friend in that previous round. And I think that if they continue to do that, drain the clock away from Collegiate, who can be a very slow team when they don't exactly know what they want to do and aren't exactly confident in how they want to do it, EQV4 can really take advantage of that. And the Solus, well, she's an operator that kind of plays into that.
We'll see what happens in this one from Collegiate Connoisseurs. A change of pace now as we swap sites and go over to the other second floor option that you've got here. Collegiate Connoisseurs aren't really going to try to change the formula too much on this attack. Just bring your standard hard breach. A little bit of an extra soft breaching element there with the Ashe and the Zofia to come into this one. But not looking for anything like an Osa or maybe even a Nomad. Just go at it bare bones, and that's kind of the way that you're going to expect this game to be typified. Standard kind of default siege.
I mean, it's kind of what these teams are. They're more pug stacks, so they know the defaults. And they might not be, like, amazing at those defaults because they're not a team that would consistently practice, but they know it, and they know how to do it as individuals, and that can work together as a team. The thing about that is that there's both of them. Collegiate are going up against a iffy default, and EQV4 are also that kind of same style that Collegiate are. So hopefully we're just going to see a constant butting of heads between these two teams, and I think that makes it a little bit more fun when they're kind of the same skill. You're not seeing a one-sided affair, but Zez almost caught between a rock and a hard place, decides if he wants to take that gunfight, but so far it's never really one-on-one here. Race, it's Collegiate kind of setting up the pretext for gunfights, but not truly taking them.
You did have that early player who just went and opened the single wall. Therm has still lingered out there. It might actually be hard to tell on the highlight, but he's out there. It's the Therm. He's just holding the coverage while the rest of the team tries to go ahead and cook up a split take. Semi with the aggressive swing around the corner. A bit of damage goes both ways, and it looks like the Bandit is still kind of worrying about what might be happening down below. Collegiate Connoisseurs maybe looking to be pulling the trigger on that vertical control with the Ashe, always an option that they can rely on.
we're seeing some more damage from EQV4. That can stack up over time if they're not careful, and could be round defining in these last kind of gunfights that we see. As now Collegiate are making their way towards this site, but the timer is something I mentioned. They can be a very slow type of team, and I think it's coming to a head here. We're seeing the Selma charge. I think it got muted out, but it's eventually going to fall, and Collegiate Connoisseurs once again draw first blood, but they need to work off of it. If they do nothing, they're just gonna kind of sit here, let EQV4 gather themselves up again and prepare for this final 30-second execution. But with Duke gone, he is going to regret uncrouching right there. This could be Collegiate's fight and could be their round to win.
This is really a strong opportunity to move forward. The time might not even necessarily matter. Still, breaching rounds continue to pepper the immediate area. Z's cautious, has a variety of different angles that he needs to cover, as they're still a bit worried about that player, the Therm, who was out towards the east, but Collegiate Connoisseurs better get going. 10 seconds, and now the time will matter, but it's Wacko. Success on the execution, and Spaz will clean up the final player. Collegiate Connoisseurs on the first interpretation here for Trophy. I've got it in the bag.
And I think if we're going off of the fact that, you know, it's some of these teams' attacks aren't as good as it should be, Collegiate is doing a good job right now. They're taking advantage of EQ kind of being unaware of what the attack might be and just getting their punches in while they can. It is expected that EQ would go back to the same site, as that's what they did previously, bringing the same style of things, and I'm thinking that they're going to do something slightly different that will cater more towards their playstyle and stop Collegiate's attack where it stands. And, well, I mean, if we're going to constantly go blow for blow all night, I think Collegiate could potentially come out on top if they really get started on the defense. So far with EQ, Zez and Duke, I mentioned them in the pre-show, they are doing a lot of the lifting. Both Semi and Z have 2 kills. Both Duke and Zez have 7. So, I mean, there are some stars on some of these teams, and, well, I mean, maybe some putting up some more kills than others.
I just feel like you're kind of going to get that in some of these games where it's a little bit more uncoordinated. You know, you've got your entries. They still inherently have gun skill, but when the rest of the squad isn't really set up in kind of a position where there's a lot of structure and there's a lot of, you know, understanding between everybody about what's going to be held and what's not going to be, you leave those players often to get exposed. And when that does happen, EQV4, they don't have anything in the way of, you know, being able to set up for a refrag.
Yeah, that's the thing when you're working with a little bit of uncoordination, but Zez underneath playing alone. I am expecting him to, you know, use that little Specchio scanner, as Solus likes to call it, maybe designed to counter these Thermite Breach. Helping bandit tricking is one thing that she is known for, but Spaz is actually going to walk away from that single wall, just kind of head around the site, not truly dedicate to something, but, well, as some claymores have been spotted through that Specchio, nobody's going to be hopping out that window anytime soon now that the information is there. Semi avoids taking some damage there. I think he just walked away from that as leisurely as he could. But for the first time tonight, it's EQV4 who get that first kill onto Arno.
Good for Z, for him to get involved as well. Not a player that's had a tremendous amount of entry kills, and not a player that's had a tremendous amount of kills, period. So for him to get started there does help to lend a bit of credibility to the rest of the roster. It's Wacko currently facing off with the Legion, who does decide to back up, but some support now. The Valkyrie just peppering a few bullets up from the black stairs. Collegiate Connoisseurs not going to give up this one too easily, but there is the goo mine still in question. The sledge quickly pulls it out, and Mustard looks to push forward, but not having really the intel to make that call. He gets exposed to Z to pick up a second now on the round.
And here's the adaptations from EQV4 that I was thinking that they would do. They push over towards this northern side. Z gets another one. Can't get the 4. Dangerously close to an ace, but Spaz just shuts him down where he stands. But Z pushes over to this side. You also, I think you had another player over there. Yep, by drum. It's Duke who can just look through this drum. Probably should find a kill onto Spaz, who is not aware. So it's a much different round than what we saw previously, and it's because EQV4 really did extend towards that other side of the second floor. It didn't allow Collegiate to really take their time, drone out, deal any damage, and so 4 players left alive for EQV4. Z and Duke absolutely ran it back. Some have coined a buddy ace in that one, is now, well, we're back at even score lines.
Yeah, just an absolutely decisive effort there by EQV4. They understood the assignment, and Collegiate Connoisseurs walked right into that. I mean, I don't know what Mustard was thinking there when you're just sending it into the hallway, and you already know there's multiple people in this area. I think he really could have done with waiting for that player to come in from the karaoke window and provide that extra bit of support, because you don't want to give the defenders these 50-50 gunfights where they get to decide where things are going down. You want to push them back, get them out of there, and not allow the extension of the defense to be the entire battleground that you see the round transpire at.
That's one of the things as the attack is you might always be at a slight disadvantage because unless you have direct confirmation, which it didn't seem like Collegiate had, the defense is always going to have that natural advantage. And I'm not talking about peeker's advantage, ping type of things. It's about the natural advantages that being the defender of a site or a room versus being the attacker of that room will happen. So with EQV4 going over to karaoke, a much different operator. I mean, they're bringing out the Solus. I think the bandit this time on Zez, but what Solus does best, the drone army. Can the Wacko's drone go down? I think it escaped, but Zez is not gonna take that. Runs all the way outside. He finds one. He didn't kill it. Freeze.
How does that even happen? Like, what?
He missed the shot!
After all that, just an absolute disaster. I don't even know. Missed the drone. I guess it's unlucky there for Zez.
What Solus does to a MF.
We'll allow that one as so long as Zez continues to hit some of the crack shots that he has found so far. Spaz is on the hunt. Just kind of getting out here and seeing if he might be able to uproot anyone from EQV4.
Well, the roam from EQV4, it is a lot bigger extension than we saw previously, but Collegiate are also doing something different than the last time we saw them. Mustard is on the sledge instead of the Monty. There isn't a Glass, there isn't an Osa. It's a more, vertical play. We're seeing some Spaz over in kitchen trying to get a frag grenade kill. Underneath, we're seeing this team take from lounge instead, so I mean, really, this entire round is being spread out through the entire map. EQV4 are over in Exhibition. They're in the first floor. Collegiate are in Office. They're on the first floor. I mean, it is really like a turf war at this point between the two teams.
Well, none of it has really come to blows. There is your first strike, so to speak. It's the Thatcher taken off the board, and thought that was the Malusi. In fact, no, it's Wacko who gets one, and suddenly it's Zach and Z all tagging together. Still the Iana and the Ash left in this one, but Collegiate Connoisseurs have been absolutely rebuffed. So now they'll have to fight their way out of this 2 versus 4 without control of the case at the moment.
And Spaz can't really do anything but kind of drone himself in, put the round on, well, him and Wacko's shoulders, because that's all they can do at this point. Find the kills. There's nobody in sight. I think it's because they don't have the diffuser. Okay, that's black borderline, but Wacko does seem to have some level of information that Zez could be inside. This is just such an odd round. The way that the attack tried to really get inside the building, take out the roamers, from the way that EQV4 extended off the site, like, and I guess at this point they're just giving up the site. What is going on?
Wow.
I don't know what's going on. Zez is not going to be able to find that kill, but I mean, the diffuser is all over by Exhibition. EQV4 are going to be able to defend that with their life, but not only do they have to get the diffuser, they have to go back to the site, so it's really going to mainly be about kills.
Well, it seems like this one is a little bit on skates. It's Zach and Z who pretty much clean up the entire offensive squadron there, and they just hold the diffuser down until the end. Attackers could never pick up their feet, as they were dealing with a variety of different engagements. EQV4 noted, making a little bit of a comeback here despite kind of losing the momentum early in this showing. They've kept it scrappy, and I think that's what we're coming to look to this series for. It's the two teams who are right on the tiptoe of being eliminated, and they're going to make us watch this whole thing.
Yeah, it's kind of a prime example of how lackluster some of these teams can be on attack when nothing really fits together as it should. The puzzle pieces don't exactly snap together in perfect succession, so you have an awkward round where it seems like a lot of these players just kind of bumble around. They have a goal in mind, but they can't exactly achieve it because this is a team game. They do have to work together, so they can't exactly get anything done, which is why EQV4, once they got that first kill, got the second kill, they kind of had control of the entire round, never truly gave it up. And Collegiate Connoisseurs, they can still get a 3-3, but this needs to be a very different style of take than we saw in that previous round. They're still bringing out the same style of operators, but it's not about the operators. It is about what they do as a team, where they head if they do it together, because I want to reiterate, this is a team game.
You know, I kind of want to go back to what you said previously there. The attack, sometimes it's like half the puzzle is not even shipped from the factory. You lost a few pieces on the way home, and now you're just sitting here and trying to pick up the pieces. It's not us necessarily being mean. You're just watching two different types of game be played here. When you've got teams that practice versus when you've got rosters that just show up to have fun, you're going to get those kind of jagged and rough around the edges matchups.
It can be exciting, though. That is the one thing, is when you don't have a true puzzle set out, a clear plan, it can have exciting moments where teams can kind of grab rounds from the edge, and you can have hero plays like Wacko, like Spaz, who currently has that second most kills. Desan hasn't, been that crazy player that we saw maybe against Parabella, but he is still doing a lot in this game. As now Collegiate trying to probably take out some of these roamers. I believe Zez has been spotted with that drone, as Collegiate are hinting that they are going towards a geisha take, moving their way through the building, but they need to actually clear some of these operators. Zez moves back as Semi got taken out potentially from underneath. I don't exactly know where Arno was, but there it is. That is the entry that Collegiate really needed.
Well, it's gone from a hint to more of a declaration now for Collegiate Connoisseurs as they are getting in, but now encountering some resistance. It'll be the drop down for Z as he just kind of flies out of there, but immediately looks to get back in the equation on the extension, though. They've now lost the Solus as Spaz just continued to hold that angle back. Z on the charge forward. He is able to find out Spaz on the drop down, just looks to get away. In the meanwhile, though, Collegiate Connoisseur still kind of feels like they're on the back foot unless they can find some serious bucks out of this vertical play.
And Desan and Mustard can't take these brazen one-on-one gunfights like Zizak or Duke can because, well, they are hurt a little bit. A lot less bullets is going to be able to take them out, so headshots is really the name of the game here. But you said they're kind of on the back foot. It feels like they don't have exactly what they want. They don't have the map control. They don't have the time. They don't have the utility, and they can just focus their energies on the bomb site with really not much to their name. Wacko is eyeing this hatch with not much, but an Ash grenade launcher and a lot of bullets in that G36. He hoping, praying that things will go well.
Well, it looks almost like maybe the Collegiate Connoisseurs have called a bit of an audible. In goes the Candela. Z is expecting the mid-site pressure. That's not what it is. It was Wacko on the walk down. He gets one. Defenders are forced out of their own objective, and could be an opportunity for the Thatcher to get the plant down, but a late arrival from Wacko. Mustard iced out in the meanwhile, and it'll be the Frost on the drop down. She goes prone, but another mechanical reaction from Wacko, who has had some of those good remarks so far tonight. And now with the plant down, it's a whole nother equation. Zach for the C4 toss, and he gets picked up by the Thatcher. Collegiate Connoisseurs are going to stop the chops and tie the half.
And that's kind of what I was talking about. Like, it's not pro.
Wait. Didn't you
C.
say this was going to have one-sided halves?
Hey, look, I said that if Collegiate connoisseurs can get things done on the attack, show me in the first round that they have kind of made improvements when it came to their communication, then they could have a good attacking half. That's what happened. I think two of the 3 attacking rounds that they won were exactly what I was saying, and what I was about to mention with that last round was, well, it's not exactly Pro League. It's these exciting plays that can happen when, well, somebody just kind of hops down, makes a hero play, somebody like Wacko, and suddenly you're able to grab the round from the clutches of defeat. So, yes, I did say that I thought these rounds would be one-sided, but there was an asterisk to that in that first round, and I think Collegiate kind of filled in that asterisk perfectly.
Suppose they did. It has not been a sleeper game for Wacko so far, who is putting up some big numbers. On the other side of the field, you do have some involvement from your expected players of Duke and Zez, but also surprise appearance of Z, who has done well to put together a couple of multi-kill performances so far. So for him, feeling strong and involved here, and I think we looked at the stats earlier and we were expecting this game to be that story of, you know, Duke and Zez versus Wacko and Akosa, now replaced by a little bit of a shifting of roles as he's unavailable at the current time. But no, it's been overall, we've had some different kind of team moments start to creep in here. The expectation, hopefully, is that it'll continue as the game gets closer to winding down here on Skyscraper.
Yeah, I'm glad right now it's not a one-sided affair, because there's a lot to chew on with these two teams. Collegiate has shown some signs of life on their attack. I mean, EQV4 can't say the same as well. This is their first attack. So this is seeming to be a game where it's not going to be over just like that, and it's not going to be, you know, 2 mid-tier teams duking out. It could be that, you could say that, but I think these teams, hey, they made SCS. They worked through the qualifiers, had to take down some pretty hefty teams, and they're here ready to put up a fight. Collegiate connoisseurs are going to be the first team to draw first blood. They take out one of the men on EQV4, one of the players. Duke is gone, and that means there's no more Lion scans.
Well, a bit of a response there. It'll come across as the death of Spaz. But again, losing the Lion, just an operator that it is hard to replace. You are still packing the Ying, though. So you will have at least the Candelas when it comes down to an execution. But so far on this side, it has been a bloody battle to even get in for the idea of an execution. So we'll see if EQV4 are looking to change it up. Doesn't really seem like a Collegiate Connoisseurs have this backstairs take that they tried each and every time. It'll be more of that same idea here as we drop into the first round of the second half.
You can see the drones getting shot out. There's only 2 left on the side of EQV4, and there are still 70 seconds in the round. So we're going to see an execution and a play. It's probably going to be about as blind as you could be. No drones left. EQV4 now working on some scraps of utility. 1 more shield left in the pocket of Zach. Semi still has 4 Candelas. Z still has every single grenade in that Zofia Impact. Now he's going to start to use them. And I think this is what EQV4 needs. They need to create chaos and thrive off of them. They need to survive as it's being deployed. As Semi almost risks there, almost takes a gunfight. But now needs to have, EQV4 needs to take this gunfight, needs to execute. Otherwise, it's just going to dissipate, and Collegiate are going to walk away with the victory.
Well, they poured on all of this utility, but ultimately kind of taking their moment to collect themselves. It's Wacko in the confrontation. He cannot stand past the Ying, and Zach to launch the final blow. EQ still managing to find their way through the battle and showing us this one is going to go down to the bitter end.
All right, well, I mean, I guess that just doesn't work out the way you think it will. Sometimes that everything had gone away, the smokes, the Candelas, most Zofia grenades, and all the defense had to do was just kind of wait for the attack to come to them. And, well, the attack just barged on in, got the kills they needed, and there just wasn't enough on the side of the defense to cater them towards a victory. So now you're going to have EQV4 take the lead Actually, they didn't take the lead. They were leading 3-2 previously, and then Collegiate Connoisseurs were able to win that previous round. But getting a round on the attack is going to be a good one from the start, as Collegiate are testing the waters again by heading back to karaoke. It's something we saw EQV4 do multiple times, was head back to the same site after they lost it, and with good success as well. But if Collegiate Connoisseurs aren't able to replicate that, they could be looking at a map loss.
You know, I want to kind of expand on the execution there. I think you and I were sort of seeing the same thing. The utility was gone and out. They had sent everything in that they had, and it looked like, you know, Collegiate Connoisseurs would have just needed to collect on a few shots there. I think it was so crucial that they managed to just pop open the wall, heading right from the back stairs into karaoke. They gave them a great avenue. It was such an ugly angle before. They had all those bars in the way, and it was so challenging. And also, the player that was over kind of by the main stairs felt like they got isolated a little bit too. We're not able to get much involvement, and, you know, you need that long player to be able to swing, and when you've got the distraction on each side, it's the player from down long that gets the final blow.
Well, Wacko close to hitting double digits. He could get that if he just tries to blindly fire in this window. A Claymore does get prepped out, and there is a Solus that could spot it, but I think overall, you're not going to see a jump out of that window. Wacko might be smarter than that. We'll have to see if my prediction is right, as Semi just tries to weave his drone through all these Mozzie Pests, some gunfire. He's not going to be able to have it survive, but still gives information on where Desan is. Maybe somebody on EQV4 were able to take advantage of it, and in hops Z, currently almost close to double digits. Maybe this will be the kill he needs to take out Mustard, take out Desan, but unfortunately, he gets dropped right there. Mustard finds 2. It's his first 2 kills of the game, and it couldn't come at a more perfect time.
Finally, it'll be the Collegiate Connoisseurs who are reaping the rewards of poor droning. This one seeming like it is much of a nothing burger for the EQV4 attack. They have not been able to get any bodies back, and they've got another player who's still being isolated. It'll be Duke to pop up onto RNO, who tried to come to the confirmation. So the defense, they do lose a man, but even still, EQV4, they are looking sluggish and emaciated.
Well, that will be the final kill. That will mean that, yes, this round will fall in Collegiate Connoisseurs' direction, but a great round for Mustard. They were 0-6 before this, were able to hold down Kitchen, and now, well, they changed from a 0 KD to a 0.5 KD. Much, much better, as a different round from Collegiate Connoisseurs. That exactly what EQV4 did. These teams are so similar. Reese, how they attack, how they defend, what their strengths, weaknesses are. It's like looking in a mirror between the both of them. Somebody's gonna have to win in the end, and I honestly really can't predict who it will be. I know I predicted Collegiate Connoisseurs, but right now these two teams are head to head in this foot race.
It's hard to tell really where this one is going. I know we both said Collegiate Connoisseurs were looking like the squad to beat, and I feel like, you know, feel free to disagree with me. Collegiate Connoisseurs, when they've won, it's been more decisive. They've had really those sound victories go their side.
Well, I mean, with EQV4, they've had rounds. I think, surprisingly, 3 out of the 4 rounds that EQV4 have won have had 3 or more players alive. So I think it may feel like that in the end, that EQV4, it's closer, but it's because a lot of times Collegiate Connoisseurs kind of take it to the edge. That it feels like Collegiate should have the advantage, and they kind of just fumble it. In the end, EQV4 are able to take advantage of that and eventually clinch the round out. So I don't think, well, I think you have something there. It feels a lot more back and forth than something like that.
Well, it's a spawn peek attempt, I think, for the Alibi. She's looking for somebody to just waltz out of that main gate. Wacko does let loose a few bullets, but he doesn't get anything from it. EQV4 just able to keep themselves away. I think they've got that kind of ranked mentality. They know the spawn peeks, they're anticipating them, and they're not just going to walk out into a clear volley. The Collegiate Connoisseurs might be prepping here. Again, it'll be the Solus sent out to roam. EQV4 have shown us a couple different looks where they have tried to cut in across down on the first floor, and honestly, both teams have done that so far instead of going directly horizontal. But we'll see what it looks like on this one. Seems like maybe the split take that we've had for this objective so far.
That's something that Collegiate did, and now EQB4 just trying to replicate it. Why was that not reinforced
Spawn peek
earlier? I mean, I guess, but I feel like you should spawn peek and then immediately take it up. Like, you just kind of... You risk death reinforcing that right there, because Semi was, I think, right around the corner, and if he had the right angle, he could have taken it out. Wacko takes out Zez. Could another player from EQV4 follow, as there's a frag grenade gone from the board? There's a fragger gone, and Collegiate really hasn't had any scaredness in their roam. They're still playing as aggressive as ever.
Well. It's RNO. He pops up and he instantly locks right onto the head of Semi. Duke did have one, but it's still Collegiate to lead the fray. It'll be the Doc who steps out into the open, and Zach able to get the confirmation, and he tacks on another. But now the advantage settled back here down for the defenders. Zach has had his moment so far, and he's got a pretty solid operator to make this one happen. 3 Selmas if there's any hard walls left in his path, but a C4 and impacts do await him. An explosive that could mean his death. There, we'll see the Selma sent on forward. Zach is careful to check every different angle, and now he hears the Solus, that signature sound of the P90. It'll be Zach to step forward, but he is going to have an awfully difficult time of isolating these targets. There is so much hard cover.
He's checking every corner, just single shot firing. Maybe he gets the one shot advantage that he needs, but nobody on Collegiate is peeking this. They have time on their side. They don't have the diffuser, but now as Mustard has found Zach, you will see probably Collegiate start to converge on his position or set themselves up so that they can win these gunfights.
Ooh, Zach's still in this one here. Don't completely count them out yet, but Collegiate connoisseurs are just playing this one by their laurels, not exposing themselves. There's the Bandit, but on the snap reaction, Zach just can't get it like he did earlier. Closing forward, he's got one, but he needs to get out the handgun, and he has got to hurry up. It's going to be the Bandit to play the corner, but time barely runs out there, and Mustard is able to get the shot before the ace converts on his clutch attempt.
And there was hope in that pistol that maybe there was enough time. Maybe he was able to pull out the pistol, but it was kind of doomed once he pulled it out and just started running. So Collegiate, I think, actually, this is the first time that they're leading since map 3. It is really just blow for blow with this teams. But now Collegiate have to go to Barbecue Kitchen. This was a site that EQ had a good hold of until the very end, in which they just let it slip through their fingers. That cannot happen for Collegiate connoisseurs if they really want to win this map, because I mean, they win this, they go on map point, and well, I think that puts a lot of pressure on their opponent that they can't afford just to take this as close as they can. This is their map pick after all.
But you know the problem when they defended this site last time, the reason why they lost it was because they were flushed out of the site by the vertical from up above, and being that they were away from the actual objective itself, it just sort of set up a position where the offense were able to find an opportunity to get the plant down. And the way that you rectify that simply is by not conceding the top floor pressure, or, if you do, I suppose it is one of those positions where you might have to say eventually this is no longer doable, and I'm just wasting away up here. Get out of there and get ready for the retake. Don't just let the attackers say, you are staying down on the first floor. Find your opportunities, when so far we have not had a lot of flank watch or nomad or anything like that being used.
Yeah, the only thing being used as a flank watch are drones and eyes, and honestly, it's mostly head-on. We're not seeing too many flanks coming out on the side of the defense. It's mainly just taking some map control, falling back a little bit, and then just trying to hold that fallen back map control with as strong as they can. As already Deson is all the way over by Office and Exhibition. You did see that window being broken, but mainly it's just EQV4 trying to send ghosts through this defense. Seem as if the attack is coming from everywhere at once. Arno actually spots the Dekebi with that Specchio scanner, so maybe the information will be given out that Deson can use off of it. As look at all that yummy fresh information that Solus can gain.
Interesting way of describing it, I suppose. Semi onto Deson, there's their reaction. This one has just been tit for tat so far. Collegiate Connoisseur is definitely throwing away any idea, that moniker I had, that they were going to be winning these rounds confidently or cleanly, but they get it done in the end on that last one, and they will look to recover already from a deficit position. Wacko, there's kill number 12. He's been lighting up the scoreboard so far, and he just looks for a little bit of an addition to the high-right reel there, but being under constant active drone pressure. His only saving grace now, a Mozzie Pest that hopes to keep it away, but he tried to get crafty with it there, but Zez was well prepared for that sudden appearance of the Oryx.
You don't see too many pre-fires with a DMR like that, but I guess in the end, just Collegiate wanting to take that gunfight will be the death of them in the end. Duke being a little sneaky over by Pantry. He's gonna have the assistance of these cameras, but he's gone. There's Zez too as well, and I think what could have been an amazing attack from EQV4 kind of crumbles beneath their feet with the IQ gone, with the Dekebi gone. They only have Semi and Zach with a so-so level of time, not too much information, and well, honestly, it's going to be up to whether or not the defense can hold this, and Zach barely missing what could have been a golden goose in that death.
Flubbed a big-time opportunity there. Spaz is still under pressure, but he's like the quarterback behind center, just absolutely running around, and nobody can tackle him down. Gets back to the safety here. C4 goes up. The connection no good. It's Semi who will look for the dry fire. Zach able to come in on another clutch one. And Collegiate Connoisseurs have seen their advantage dissipate. This one is going to be tough to get past here. Oh no, though. Semi, he stepped into the open, and RNO, all you need to do is hide away. And he hits Zach with the pre-fire. Collegiate Connoisseurs finally able to string something together here.
Arno able to use that large mag size of the P90 and give Collegiate the edge that they needed. It almost happened. We almost saw another barbecue kitchen site, of which the defense had a sizable lead, and then at the final seconds let it drip away, but it didn't happen this time because of one man. Arno, a 2-round lead, the largest that we have seen so far tonight, and we're going back to Karaoke T. So far, EQV4 have only won 1 round on their attack. That was the first round of Karaoke, and I think a lot of that comes down to Collegiate are kind of able to pick apart EQ's roam clear because it is just not as tight and succinct as it needs to be. Collegiate were able to kind of clean up theirs a little bit, which is why they were able to get some of the attacks, but EQ's, they just haven't had the precision that they need.
And I feel like that last round, it does kind of lend itself to a criticism that I had made. When you lose out on your player that's defending the top floor, you don't want to give up on that vertical. What a great opportunity for RNO to find his flank movement, because they've been just absolutely burgeoned by drones so far. EQV4 have not been able to get past that. You make your retake, you get one, and you just get out of there. That's all he needed to do. He was able to survive until the very end and make a crucial round-winning and potentially game-deciding play.
Yeah, that's what I said. Sometimes you see these players just kind of take the mantle and say, all right, guys, I know it looks grim, but I got it. I'll take us all the way to victory. As now what could be the final round of the first map in our best of 3. Potentially 3 maps. Be honest, Reese. Do you think we are going to head to 3 maps after what you've seen so far?
With, the second map being Bank, I'm going to go ahead and say this one is probably heading to 3 maps.
I mean, I don't know. I like Collegiate on Bank, though. That's the thing, is seeing them, like, being able to cast them against Parabellum. They were able to really work the map, especially Wacko and D-Sun. With on Oryx, on Alibi, they just looked like they were able to dismantle Parabellum sometimes. And EQV4, as good as they can be, they are no Parabellum, especially when it comes to that roam clear. So I think that Collegiate, if they play right, they really could run circles around EQV4 on the defense. But that's just speculation. We'll have to see what happens when we actually get there. As so far, it's just 1 round that Collegiate need. EQV4 need 2 rounds to go to overtime, 3 rounds to win it. But I mean, it's going to be a little bit harder now that Mustard is gone for Collegiate to walk away with this.
Yeah, absolutely. Just caught on cam. Unlucky for Mustard there, and I feel like maybe the IQ is going to be an operator who starts to pop up a little bit more now that you've got RNO on Solus, an operator who is constantly using a gadget attached to her body. And, you know, the IQ is the perfect counter to that. Understandably, both operators can see each other. And, you know, the IQ's got the pistol out. For Solus, you have to put the gadget away to get a gun in the fight there. I think IQ could really be great. You know, some of these ranked teams have never stopped playing IQ because she's got the G8, and it's just such a ferocious weapon.
Not literally. You can see these players just staring at each other. It might not be like one of the round definers. It is still funny to just see Solus looking at the IQ, IQ looking at the Solus, and one of these players are eventually going to be, well, dead in the ground. And so far, Collegiate, this might not be the round for them. It's still possible, as Arno, I believe, saw a player upstairs, sees the drones that are being used. Oh, does he have the info he needs? You can tell he is a little apprehensive about hopping underneath. He uses the impact, but there's a wall in between where he impacts and in between where the actual player is. Semi takes a lot of damage, almost lethal damage, but he survives. He's still able to use that scanner, and that is the big part.
Well, drum control, I think, is going to be largely deciding of where this one goes. The Alibi is not ready to give it up, and there's the Iana who will make the decision for her. Steps right in. Absolutely ready on the release. It's RNO to try to walk back up from the main stairs, but this one looks like we will see the end of regulation at least. It's RNO to work forward on the creep look. He doesn't have anybody immediately monitoring that door. It doesn't matter in the end, though. EQ V4, it's their hour of need, and they get in and do it with the flawless round.
And where are we going for this final round? I'm going to hedge my bets. We're going to karaoke. Again, that's been a constant pattern on the defense, is retrying those sites that you previously lost. But Collegiate instead are going to head to Exhibition Office. I usually don't actually like teams going to sites that they lost in the previous round, but so far both of these teams have done a good job at adapting and changing their play to heavily favor them in the next round. So while Collegiate Connoisseurs did have a good Exhibition Office round, I like their odds if they try to go to Karaoke T again. Keep those roamers away from the site, especially, you know, Wacko and Arno, who are able to draw a lot of time and utility away from the attack. They have a little bit better luck. You see a lot of the roamers work around each other. It's a much different result than that previous round, but clearly they have a different plan in mind. Collegiate Connoisseurs still having that, you know, Arno on the Solus, the dock that we've seen on Exhibition Office some of these times. It's a different lineup than usual, but I think it's still Collegiate Connoisseurs. I still give them the edge.
Well, with that last one, it sort of feels like maybe EQV4 are starting to discover a few more pieces of that puzzle that was left out on the road. So hopefully they can get it back together a little bit more and trigger an overtime here on our very first map. This is the Collegiate Connoisseurs map pick, by the way. It's seen in the top left of our overlay there. If you're ever interested in who the respective maps belong to, we're headed to Bank next, which you say, as the resident expert of the Collegiate Connoisseurs here, is a good map for them. I'll lend that call to you, as I have no idea where the Collegiate Connoisseurs are going to be feeling good at.
Yeah, I mean, surprisingly, I think I've casted both of these teams once. I didn't cast the EQV4 Era of the Rise. I didn't cast the Collegiate Vipers game. So seeing one of these teams going back and looking over, Arno is going to try for an amazing play. He just misses, says.
Disappointing.
Well, yeah, he only does a little bit of damage to Zez, runs straight into a line of bullets. And that is where Collegiate needs him the most. There's still 2 minutes left. And if Collegiate, they can avoid overtime. But now with Arno, Solus, Bandit, and Mustard gone, it seems like UQV4, they're just going to snowball their way to overtime.
Yeah, they certainly found their mojo. It'll be Deson to kind of change the tempo on that one. Losing Mustard, losing especially RNO, who is... got 8 kills, might have 10 deaths, but he still found his impact there. And, well, there's Wacko. That was the other star player I was probably heading to in the next point. Spaz able to rifle one off. He has still been confident in his dock play. to hold the targets back, but EQV4 with an advantage and a big-time opportunity to make sure this first map does not go to waste.
Spaz just unable to hit those bullets. He has a lot of dock stims that he can use. Stim himself up, get back to full health, and try to take these gunfights at peak performance. Desan spots another player, as right now, kills are the name of the game for Collegiate. They can still absolutely win this round, but it is in the barrel and the hands of the guns that Collegiate are holding right now. Well, the C4 could be a playmaker as well, but there's so much time on the clock for EQV4 to work with. They have a lot of drones. They still have 4 Candelas as well. Something has to happen. Collegiate have to get a very, very large entry, and that could be it right there.
That is your opportunity to move forward with this one. Still, though, they continue to call in on the execution. The Candelas move forward. Spaz steps up. The substitute needs a big play. We'll see if he's got it in him. And he does! What a reaction there on a semi! And Spaz will save the day. It was looking like EQ had a few rounds left in him, but Spaz will change the story. Collegiate Connoisseurs will lock up their map pick 7-5.
The last 3 rounds that Collegiate won, they had 1 player left alive. That's those individual players, those hero moments that you can see in these more pug stack oriented games. But a close first map there. 7-5, Collegiate barely avoid overtime. And honestly, a loss. A lot of these rounds could have fallen in EQV4's favor, and they could have won the map, but that's just not the way that the dice rolled. So, while going into bank, that is going to be EQV4's map pick. I still got to favor Collegiate Connoisseurs. I'm feeling it.
I took an opportunity to go out and review the Liquipedia and look at the game Parabellum versus Collegiate Connoisseurs. I'm with you all the way now. I feel like Bank is going to be a good one. EQV4 losing the first map. You're already in the elimination bracket. You had a good comeback energy there at the end of Skyscraper, which makes me think, okay, maybe there's not, this complete death knell that's going to come down in this game, but you failed to even trigger overtime. That would have really been the ticket for me to say, oh, sure, they're going to get Bank done. They're going to push us to a decider, and they're going to make sure we're going until after midnight. Bank coming up. This one's going to be crucial. Do or die, EQV4. You win this one, you get another chance to continue in SCS. Otherwise, you lose, you're out of here.
Pollard's on a double though, and he finds the third through the smoke. It's just enough. Getting it to 3K with an ult. With 3 seconds left, Simon lands the pre-fire. Nobody can kill him in time. He clutches it out. What a play from the alibi as the lobby player goes unchecked. Pollard's on a double, though, and he finds the third to the smoke. Just enough. Getting into 3K with it up. With 3 seconds left, final lands the pre-fire. Nobody can kill him in time. And he clutches it out. What a play from the alibi as the lobby player goes unchecked.
Back from the break, and like you mentioned, this is do or die for EQV. For their backs are against the wall. They have to win bank to get a shot at that third map to win this entire match out. But I mean, that first one was a close one, Reese.
Yeah, it was looking like there was some strong moments in there where EQV4 were trying to hedge their bets and get it done, but ultimately they just came down to a strong hurdle. Spaz, kind of a sleeper player at the very beginning, but he turned it up in that very final round and hit some great shots. Doc is an operator that can change it at a moment's notice, and you see the social vote there as well. We are still 50-50 on this game, but I think we're starting to lead a little bit more towards the Collegiate connoisseurs. We talked about it previously. There's 7-3 loss versus Parabellum Esports on this very map. It's a loss. It's not necessarily a super close one, but it's rounds that you put up against a pro league team, and we're gonna have to see EQV4, are they gonna look any different? Because it's not the same as playing versus, you know, a pro league team. The structure is way different, and that could give us a game that is very different.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. We don't really have that type of thing for EQV4, that experience on this map. But Soulless going off the board, that is no surprise. Both of these teams tried to abuse the Soulless, but I think on Bank it is a different demon than one that you'll see on Skyscraper. Warden is going to be that final one. It seems it's one that Collegiate connoisseurs, they just kind of rely on. They like those smoke plays. They like bringing out the Glass and the Monty. They don't want any defender to peer through that smoke and take out their execute one by one. But it's Collegiate connoisseurs on the defense. They started on the attack in the previous map, of which we ended 3-3 at the split. So who is going to get that lead from the beginning? Are we going to see anybody have a true advantage when we swap sides, or is it once again just going to be a map where it's back and forth until the end?
I'm feeling like Collegiate connoisseurs, after the second half of Skyscraper, understand kind of the prerogative here and are going to be able to take their coordination that they found on the Realm in the previous map and really continue to apply this one here as well. RNO had just been hard maining that Soulless operator who was taken out in the vetoes there, so he's going to drop over to the Azami, almost forgot that one there, to the Azami, and bring in a little bit of a different operator, but still somebody who can make a roam threat happen, and you've always got your Mozzie and your Oryx if you need him as well.
Yeah, so with EQV4, I mean, if they get an explosive start, maybe take out Deson, take out Arno, with not too much apprehension on their side, I think we could be looking at a different map. That's the thing, is there's a lot of ways this map can go. There's so many branching paths, choose your own storylines that are kind of unfolding before our eyes. We don't truly know what path it's going to be. Deson takes a lot of damage. I think that might have been a spawn peek on his end, potentially all the way over from Printer, but I mean, he's definitely going to wreck that. Wacko could find one, but the attacker's head barely slips underneath, but it's not going to be enough to give Collegiate their first death. They get that first kill.
There's RNO to kick it off, and it is a struggling exchange between RNO and Z. Eventually, some assistance from a Window Repel player will get RNO down. Doesn't much look like he's got a teammate in the vicinity that's going to be able to proc that revive, and somebody else moving up, I believe, over by Kanto, likely to confirm this down player, but you got the damage while it was needed. Took about a minute off the clock, but even still, EQV4 not necessarily in the worst position, as long as they can just guarantee that this roam is receded to the objective. Get to the next steps here and think about what you're going to do for an execute.
All right, to take it out, Duke, doing that much damage to Z, and there goes Zez. I think, honestly, you count it as a victory because Deson has not been taken out. Wacko has not been taken out. Spaz as well. These were players that were nightmares for EQV4. And honestly, the main kind of band-aid that EQV4 could do is try to suppress one of these players. Is it caught me by surprise. Semi just wiggling. I mean, seizure
brutal.
warning for all of you out there.
Either way, I don't know how we've managed to skate past this. You've lost Duke. That's a big operator. You do have a hatch open. This is the way that Collegiate Connoisseurs have chosen to play it. But I think where it matters more is definitely going to be over towards that CCTV to server wall. Not being able to get that open, this is going to be such a dry execute. EQV4 are going to have to hit it with so much gumption. I don't know if they've got it left in them.
I mean, Z, like, smack that man with, like, a flashbang. He is dead. He cannot really do anything. Maybe he gives off some information with those scanners. And Semi just walks right in the sight, takes out one, takes out another with a headshot, and Zach finds one of his own. It's going to be all up to Spaz. Does he have the skills? Does he have the stims he needs? He takes out Z all the way in the sight, and he's able to stim himself up all the way to full health. Gives him an advantage over Semi, but we are going to see a direct gunfight which will decide the fate of this round. But Spaz does not have the information. He has the damage. They just take a breather in between the gunfight. Stand still. Semi wins the round. Spaz, Semi, definers of the round, and in the end, it's the Dokebi who walks out on top.
What an awkward pause for the Dokebi.
They just took a break.
She was just trying to get the charging handle back in the gun, and it was not going her way. But an excellent late attempt. You know, rain or shine, EQV4, they get in there despite suffering some early penalties, and Collegiate losing a big opportunity. Their roam was golden. Got one, wasted a lot of time, managed to get another when Zez was strangely aggressive into server, but they just opened themselves up. They tried to play too many soft angles, and you cannot deny the impact of that DMR, of that player to just get in there, completely ice in his veins, and get all those shots as it was needed. Collegiate Connoisseurs, a big-time mistake for them on that first try for the basement.
I'm gonna be honest, I felt like the server crashed when they were both standing. Or standing
I felt like you
crowd.
crashed. You weren't saying anything.
Because I was like expecting them to continue going on, and they just don't move. And I was like, what's going on? Spaz didn't have any stims. They didn't have any health. They didn't really have any ammo. It was just, well, I mean, I guess it's the perfect way to kind of describe this match. It's awkward, but it's also exciting at the same time. You're seeing crazy plays coming out from Semi, from Spaz, getting plays they really shouldn't. Like, Semi should not have walked away with that round victory because everything was just leaning Collegiate. And yet in the end, he just walks in the site, finds one, finds two, finds three, and suddenly it's Collegiate down a round.
Good little entry there from the Dokebi. Already have managed to identify a camera. That's the power of good drone work as well as simply having an IQ in play here. It looks like they might have even gotten another camera that was over by the top of Square. It'll be the Oryx who is looking to make this one start off early. The call, he doesn't really matter much for it. And he's got some support from the Valkyrie as well. Both of those two defenders just trying to send a few shots on over towards that ATM's player.
Yeah, you're seeing those phone calls, really seeing where these defenders could be, but Semi, that's one gone. Will another one fall as Z spots one? He cannot get that reframe onto Wacko. So now EQV4, it's another opening death, but they've come back from worse. They've come back from 2 players down, 3 players down. As long as Collegiate still have players around the map, though, that is where EQV4 really are going to struggle, though. But if Collegiate have already kind of centered themselves on the site, which they haven't. Rhino and Mustard, Arno, Mustard, Whack are still around the site. Maybe EQV4 will actually start to have answers. As Duke finds one, will be able to find a second on Arno. So far, no.
Oh! Okay, that was a little bit of an awkward moment there, but some good footwork for Arno gets him out of the fight, and he will just run away and, well, pretty much hide. A C4 goes up, but it's actually shot midair by the Hibana, making sure that one is not going to be exploding any of her teammates. Semi hunting for an advanced position, and the new buff to the dock allows that stim pistol to push the Oryx back up to full shape, fighting health, and he is about ready to go. Still looks like the offense are a bit worried about what might be lying in wait around the map. They don't really have much to lock down on this one here, but they executed in more meager circumstances previously, so maybe they'll do it just one more time.
Oh, 40 seconds left. I mean, Collegiate, they have to defend this site. They don't have smoke. They don't have a C4. But EQB4 have the hatch, and that could be one thing that really could give them the victory. Yeah, you saw it. There's still a roamer for Collegiate. Wacko is still up on the second floor over by Square, making sure that, well, any stragglers on the side of EQB4 swiftly get hunted down. He actually might get hunted down himself. There's a player walking up blue. Duke finds one, hops all the way back down to that bottom floor, but nobody accounted for Spaz, Reese, and now as the timer starts to tick down, Semi does the hero work once again, but he gets put down, and Collegiate are going to be able to make sure that the history does not repeat itself.
Well, it was still scrappy. I mean, there was still some excitement there. I think maybe a bit of a poor call to try to plant from cover and maybe not just rush deep and play on the wall. Hard to know whether or not you've got C4s or anything in the equation, but in that position, you want to just make sure I'm in a spot where it doesn't matter what my cover is, it matters what my teammates are watching. And unfortunately, just a wrong selection. Still some heads-up moments. Gotta love that from Duke, understanding there is still a roamer left unaccounted for. And, you know, that roamer that was Wacko was just a little bit too preoccupied getting tunnel vision on the hatch. You found that opportunity, and you could have almost had another show-stopping round there. But with the basement finally locked out, now we're going to go try open area. Something I've seen a little bit more here in SCS this season.
Yeah, open area, I mean, Bank has definitely fallen a little bit more into teams' play styles. They've been scrimming a lot more, practicing, and we're seeing a lot more in SCS. And with that comes a lot more sites that teams are willing to play, like staff open area. It's very vertical heavy. Like, you're going to see teams bring out the buck, bring out the sledge to just wail on that floor, open that hatch, just drop down beneath those cubicles, and then try to get that plant down. It can be a very chaotic last round execute from a lot of teams if they don't have everything click into place. And that's kind of been the story of tonight, is teams not having everything they truly need before they execute. But EQP4, I mean, they've done a handy job scraping together everything at the last final seconds. But, I mean, D-Sun and Wacko, I know it's only round 3, but I'd like them to have a little bit more impact, especially D-Sun on the Oryx. He can roam around the map, jump up these hatches. I want to see him be a nuisance to the attack.
So far, Collegiate have got their typical setup here. Playing a little bit towards the distance at Dokkaebi has been such a pest so far. Oh, maybe Duke spotted out by the player from below. Wacko is called out as well. And I do specifically remember the interview with Biologic after our reality TV loss to S2 Esports earlier. He mentioned he thought Dokkaebi was the a most overpowered operator, the best selection that you could bring on the offense, not only because of its ability to hunt down things on the roam, but also when you're executing, you just light up one of those calls and suddenly, no matter how many bulletproofs or evil eyes you've got, your deceased teammates can't be watching them.
I mean, that's why we kind of seen Dokkaebi explode in pick rate. Semi gets one, Duke another one, and there's Collegiate not having the best roam. It's kind of getting picked apart in some of these rounds with EQV4, but Spaz has information. Once again, it's gonna fall on his shoulders and his shoulders alone. It's gonna have to be not an ace, but a 4K 1v4 clutch, as he has his phone ringing in his pocket. Zez has the angle completely unaware, and there is EQV4 getting a second attacking round, and that one kind of seemed pretty easy, Reese.
Yeah, nothing doing for the roam there, just got found out. The Dokkaebi calls were ringing all the time, and EQV4, it was just like practically clockwork for them. They just shot in there like a rocket and got it all done. Collegiate were so, felt like they were really murky in the transition, had players trying to retake under, areas that had coverage, and they were just simply never in a great position to get together. I think that was probably their biggest issue, just the coordination. Nobody was able to work together to make a pick. There was maybe 1 or 2 kills manufactured there, but, by the end, it's Spaz, he's against 4. It is not happening. They're going to choose to reattempt it. And, typically so far this game, I think we've got probably a 100% win rate of reattempting a site. I wouldn't have done it here on open area.
I mean, retaking some of these sites can be difficult on Bank as well. Just kind of how the site itself is set up, but Collegiate, they don't want to keep doing that over and over again, leaving Spaz in a 1vx position, having to rely on clutches, retaking the site, because I know that we've seen, you, the audience, have seen on the previous map that they are a better defensive team than that. We've seen them on Bank, their previous performances, so maybe it's going to take a little bit, but so far, EQV4's attacks, definitely, they've been scrappy, but they've been successful, and I think the previous round has been their best attempt. That's actually been a normal siege round. Maybe we'll see more of them. Maybe we'll just see them continuing to bang together rounds at the final 30 seconds. Who knows?
Oh. Duke is just waiting there, thinking about whether or not there's going to be a player who decides to wander out into open space here. Oh, the call, once again, here it goes. Oh, but great coverage there by Spaz. Excellent team play. Allows him to get out and make sure his teammate was well defended. Still Wacko worried about the pressure from the windows up above. It's getting a little bit tight for RNO with all of the kunai knives that he's got thrown around in this area, but as much as it's tight for him, it's going to be even more awkward for EQV4 to think about where this engagement is going to happen.
Wacko almost had the headshot, but fortunately Z is just better in that engagement. But immediately, RNO swings right back. He just has the fortress that he's able to hold down. And now EQE4 having 2 less players than Collegiate Connoisseurs. I mean, Collegiate had Spaz in the previous round. I would say EQV4 had Sebi, but he just kind of got dunked on right there, Reese, by D-Son. And with Zach up on the roof, I hate to say it, I think Collegiate's going to walk away with this round.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and have to eat crow after I said they shouldn't have gone back here to open area. Seemed like there was something in the programming that I just missed out on. And, well, EQV4, they just look pretty terrible right now in terms of how you're going to sum up that attack. It went nowhere, and it's about to drop off at the station of 2 and 2 between our participants. Zach is just prolonging the inevitable right now. We've seen him come close. He's had some multi-kills. He hasn't really had, I think, any notable clutch performances where he has actually succeeded, and that won't change here in round number 4.
It's another round where we're going to see probably max regulation, if not maximum overtime. And I was wondering all the way at the beginning of the map whether or not we were going to see a team grab an advantage. I don't think we will. I think we're going to see another 3-3 split, and somebody is just going to have to grab the mantle in those last couple rounds. Last map, it was Collegiate Connoisseurs on their own map pick. This time, if you want to survive, they're going to have to do it on their own map pick, and it's going to start with making sure they get at least an equal split, 3-3. They're going to have to attack this basement side. I mean, I'm praying that we're seeing a more normal basement side that EQV4, either they have a good attack or they don't, and that Collegiate are able to hold the site when they should. I mean, but these teams have been, whatever they've done all night, it has just been the far opposite from normal.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you are going to get that when you have 2 of these rosters who are anything but normal. You have a Collegiate roster who we never get to see outside of their own environment of the college atmosphere, college environment. And then you get EQV4 who are, you know, you can't really call them totally too wild and different, but they're nothing like, you know, the practicing rosters that we usually expect in our higher levels of competition. This is a roster that has come together, you know, some friends, some people who know each other to be gunners and ranked. And with that being said, I do want to also mention, I've seen EQV for a couple of signs that they are making some good audible calls. You know, there was a ping or two earlier that was like, hey, get me this gadget. Let me have this thing to set up. Try to help me out here when they were in the previous map. And that makes me think there are some good points here for EQV4, that they're not just a total, you know, gang of monkeys that's going to be running around.
Oh, absolutely. EQV4 have actual, you know, goals and designs to get that goals. It may look clunky, but they have something in mind in the end. I don't know if Duke being in Garage, or is that, no, that's Semi. That is not Duke. I would think that would be very bad if that was Duke, but Semi is just kind of all alone on an island inside of Garage. Nobody on EQV4 all the way around him. I know that they've put a lot onto him in this map, but it would be something else. He cannot hit the shots when he needs to, Reese, as Wacko completely takes off that Dikebi's head, and now EQV4 have to fight in this round without really their main playmaker.
That is just your classic, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two there. The sneaking through Garage and the 1, 2, 3 missed shots. Duke with an opportunity to laser away the Valkyrie. He is not able to get the confirmation, can't knock the target down to anything less than half HP. Zez is still awfully cautious about this Mozzie, who is just really riding the line here. Nobody gonna make a move. The Mozzie continues to step forward. Otherwise on the map, we've got a trade between RNO and Z, and RNO now picking up another as well there. The return from the support of UQV4 is not one that has been very well constructed. Zez is wandering into no man's land right now, needs to get together with his teammate, and there's RNO. Pops up, triple kill for the Valkyrie, and the veritable jungle that was that open area this round. Collegiate Connoisseur is starting to put this one away.
Finally see a stable round where Collegiate, they have a good opener, they've got a good middle, and it just carries all the way until that final third of the round, and they get the round victory. It's almost like that's how Siege is intended to be played. It's crazy. Collegiate, they go up to that second floor. They have the ability to get a 4-2 split, which I think would benefit them greatly to go up against this EQV4 team, win that first map, go up 4-2 on Bank, and then just have a little bit less pressure on their attack. But, I mean, we've seen some crazy things. I know that EQV4, they can pull some stuff out of their butt, and when they least expect it, honestly.
Well, EQV4 need to just go ahead and make a couple of course corrections here. This is their own map selection. We've already been through this before, talking about how, you know, EQV4 have picked it, so on paper they look good here, but the stats are lining up in favor of Collegiate and the Connoisseurs because of their noted performance against Parabellum. Who knows, we may have another challenge for Collegiate Connoisseurs to face off again with another T1 team. Just for those of you who are checking in now, this is our elimination match, so one of these two teams is not going to be continuing on with the rest of our Swiss stage. We already had one team go ahead and confirm themselves for the playoffs in our earlier match. I won't spoil that one for those of you who haven't watched it because it was really a good one. So go back and check out that Reality TV versus S2 Esports game if you haven't watched it already, because you will be delighted.
Yeah, it's definitely some could say a barn burner, because that phrase hasn't been used to death at all in the T3, T4 Siege scene. And, well, I may have ruffled some feathers. I know that Chief, he's not here with
Brian.
us, but yeah, he definitely has a dislike for that phrase.
Poor old Brian, we don't get to see too much of him nowadays. He's got a big person job.
It's a day job, what the heck?
Oh. Well, there's your entry. That's something EQV4 definitely could do with more of. I think what we're all hoping for, if you're a fan of EQV4, is that they do not see it traded back. There's an opportunity maybe to stack another body here. D-Son is still really in the heart of the fray.
Wacko gone. He's not putting up the numbers that he did in the previous match, but I mean, Arno has kind of had the ability to do that. He's 6-2 currently, has some of the least, that's had some of the most kills, even on Castle. Right now, he is still a major threat to EQV4, who still have to make their way through some of these roamers. If they don't deal with D-Son, if Duke is not able to find the shots, EQV4, they're going to have to dedicate more resources on over to taking these players out. But maybe that just won't be the case. Maybe with Arno off the board, maybe some other players will fall. Mustard peaks. I mean, maybe that Magnet got shot mid-air, didn't give him enough time to play, but Spaz once again is the hero right now for Collegiate. What could have been an absolute one-sided affair, EQV4 snowballed their way toward a round victory. Here comes Spaz, and it's back at a 2v2.
It's a good spot for D-Son as well. I like this. He kind of decides what's going to happen inside main office here. Oh, now they know. Semi. Is he going to be ready for this one? Yes, he is. Oh, maybe not. Oh, my God. D-Son just absolutely fried Semi. Didn't even give the Zofia the time of day. A long shot there by Zach. He can't tame the recoil and bring it down onto the head of that player over by Janitor. Again, we'll see the stim pistol come out, and Zach just thinks to himself that nothing could quite be going his way. There will be the attempt at a plant, but there's an easy sight line, and Zach doesn't know if he's coming or going. Collegiate Connoisseurs pick up round number 6, establishing themselves with a healthy lead.
And the actual plays work out for Collegiate Connoisseurs, and it's that scrappiness that we're seeing from both of these teams. Spaz, I mean, he was that player that single-handedly ended previous map, and he might be that player that kind of ends this map as well. I mean, what he's been able to do in some of these rounds, he could have been a 5-1 scoreline, potentially 6-0 if a couple things goes his way in those clutch situations. But I mean, EQV4, the main goal is somehow shut down Spaz. I know that's a lot harder to do on the defense than something like the attack, where you can just focus them, make sure that they don't get their, hero plays. But he is really that entry that Collegiate are needing, and you cannot have that with EQV4 being one map away from falling out of SCS.
Well, we mentioned earlier it was important for EQV4 to start off the first half with some good form on their attacks. Got 2. I'm not necessarily feeling like that's maybe enough here. I think we're going to pretty much see this first round decided. Collegiate Connoisseurs, are they going to keep up, or are they going to kind of revert to Skyscraper, where they had some struggles? They had some rounds that were kind of winding down towards the very end. Because if we get that latter option, I think there's a possibility of a comeback here for EQV4, but Monty and Glaz are going to join up outside of the server tunnel. This is quite an interesting idea here.
It's a Collegiate special where they run the smokes, they run the Glaz. EQV4 weren't ready for it last time. I would hope that they've, put it in their brain that, well, they've got that black eye camera, so they have confirmation of what exactly is coming. But does that mean they're really going to be prepared for it? There's going to be no more Zero in this round, so no more Argus camera. So really, all that flank watch is just going to have to be with good old-fashioned drones. But Collegiate are really running through this round pretty early. They've got both of these walls open. Arno is inside of the site. There's no smoke canisters deployed yet. That is really when you're going to see everything happen, where Wacko, he's just going to peer through the smoke. You're probably going to see some executions happening with D-Son planting. So here is where everything comes to a heading, and that smoke canister does all the work.
Arno needs to be awfully careful. He is taking so much damage from the Toxic Babe. I'm starting to think the smoke plant and the coverage from the Monty is not really going to be too possible. Mustard is still monitoring the situation. I think they're aware of him, though, here inside of Electrical. They're really careful to try to push past this. Mustard looking for the shots. Oh, he gets it with the very last bullet of the trigger pull. There's Desan for the plant. He will stick to it. RNO got shut out by a C4. The Thermite successful. However, he gets pounced upon, and Mustard is in no position to deny the plant. Maybe that'll change, though. He surges forward. He gets one. Semi to try to stick the plant, but out of ammo in the primary, and that's going to make sure this one goes in the column of EQV for a smart and really crafty attempt there from the offense, but the Monty, I think, taking so much damage is what ultimately doomed that one.
Yeah, once the Monty had taken so much damage from the smoke, the indecision is kind of what killed him in the end there. He tried to go forward, maybe go out of the smoke, had to realize that that was a bad move.
He went left, he went right.
Yeah, that's exactly kind of what led to almost his death and essentially the round's death as well. I mean, it was good on Mustard. I think if you give the G36C, like, 10 more bullets, which is not a good idea. But if you did, I think Mustard walks away with that clutch.
Maybe. Just an idea.
In an alternate universe.
We'll sit on that one for a little bit. But, yeah, it was as good as it was going to get from the attempt by the Iana with what happened to the rest of her squad. Collegiate Connoisseurs tried to call in on kind of a pocket strat there, and I liked it. I think it mainly, you know, it was going to work because they had two players that were so far off on the roam, because they had Wacko in a really good position as far as coverage goes. I mean, insane that he won that shot against the player up by the default cam. But even after getting through all of that, it wasn't going to be the Wacko show. He can't get it all done. He needed one other player to get one other kill. If that were to be happening, it would have been Collegiate Connoisseurs one round away from just putting this one onto a serious point.
Won't that be the story of the attacks, is that they have kind of all the pieces but can't put it together, where a lot of times EQV4 had that, but they were able to scrap together 2 rounds. Can Collegiate do that? Because, well, the guaranteeing themselves overtime is something that will take a lot of the pressure off, I think, knowing that you have that safety of at least 2 more rounds on your side, if not going all the way to, well, map and match point at this moment. Still only having the lead by 1 round. Collegiate, everything kind of needs to go right for them. The attack isn't as strong as the defense. The communication, which was there on Skyscraper, needs to happen. There's a lot of things that need to really stick together for them to get a lot of these attacking rounds.
Well, here comes the Iana. She is sneaking up. The Frost in her body posture does not really lead me to believe that they are expecting or aware of this from Wacko, but he's got that Bard, and he's got another player over by Soda. So there isn't really kind of a breeding ground for him to make a step forward here. Spaz still just on the search below. If you've got any Valkyrie cameras or any players who are monitoring those cameras, you do have Zach. See if we can go ahead and find that player. So far, the answer is no. And Zach is actually on concrete right now, so he wouldn't be vulnerable to such things.
Yeah, Collegiate heading for the first floor, trying to get a lot of these frag grenade kills. There's nobody there. So Wacko heading towards another area that wouldn't be successful as well. Like, Collegiate are dedicating so much time to trying to take out players from underneath, when really that's not going to be a successful strategy. Duke deals with one. Collegiate Connoisseurs almost really feed into a death machine right there. As Red Stairs is kind of a funnel of death. I do not see a way in which Collegiate can walk up these red stairs and still really find themselves around. So they're being a lot more apprehensive, but still walking up the red stairs. Desan drops the diffuser. Mustard has to relocate over towards the main stairs. I mean, Collegiate Connoisseurs, this is the attack that I was expecting from both of these teams, and that is not really a good thing, Reese.
Well, a nice shot, maybe a bit of a consolation there. It does not turn into a double kill onto that player up top by Kanto, and Zach will put away the final one. That lead, which had emerged at the end of the first half, has quickly dissipated, and I think the easiest way to pick that round apart was the ace is the first player through the breach walking up red stairs, and he didn't even think to use his gadget to open up the Kanto wall. Like, such a simple thing such as that. If you open Kanto, it makes the castle play a little bit more kind of reserved, and when he's back in there, maybe you've got somebody else that can provide a little bit of coverage, because that was so excellently done by EQV4 with that simple cross that they played between the player that was in Trump and the one that was at Kanto. They just sat there, the player in Trump was getting shot up and blasted, and then the ace was like, oh, here I go, here's my opportunity to make something happen. I'm going to be crafty and kind of under the cuff and try to go in there. No, you're not, because you got, the castle, and he's just watching that.
Yep, and I mean, we talked about Collegiate a lot tonight. What stuff good they've done. I think highlighting what EQV4 had, the good that they've done is important as well, because, well, I've been accused several times by Twitch chat of being biased. I don't know why, but I'm clearly just a biased caster that just is in too much favored of Oxygen. I favor Oxygen way too much, apparently, and I don't know. I don't know. It's weird to see, but talking about both these teams, what good they've done, what things they could work on, is, well, it is important to make sure that you have a unbiased cast, Twitch chat.
Yeah, I was actually paid multi-millions of dollars by collegiate connoisseurs and the various schools that they represent. Here's the rush, open area, it's a quick take. Mustard gets in, he's got a target, and he immediately takes out the Maestro. Slowed by the Banshee, but that's a thing of the past. It's Mustard to head up the cut. He's got the castle too. Semi on the flank, but that's short-lived. He goes away, and now it's Z and Zach to see if they might creep back and get their way forward in this attack. Z is able to pop up, he gets RNO, but he's shot immediately on the run through the wall. Now it's left to Zach, he's running through the basement, and he cannot come back to this attack and make his way forward because he is out of this one for sure. They're going to get the plant down in the meanwhile as Zach is trying to come through, but the beeping is going to go ahead and notify the IQ. That one is put away easily by the collegiate connoisseurs.
Chef's kiss right there of the rush. Whoever called it, perfect timing, because collegiate connoisseurs really were falling on bad times, and it seemed like EQB4 had the upper hand, that if they continued to kind of play like they would, that the defense would continue to dominate. Bam, here comes collegiate connoisseurs rushing onto the site, absolutely taking everybody by surprise and winning that round on a rush that you're not going to get again. But it is still a round that attack grabbed, took away from the defense, and now have a little bit of breathing room that they didn't previously have.
I'm a little shocked that the response was so slow from EQV4, because they had the Banshee, they had the wall, the castle, there were so many obstructions. And EQV4, they were so sluggish with getting another person back, because that rush on open area is like the first thing in the margins of the textbook when you look at Bank. If defense, site presence weak, then we rush. And EQV4 were just a little slow. The Maestro was caught in a bit of an awkward position, I get that. But, it happens, and you're just going to have to move on.
You can stop worrying about grenades now. 5 seconds to go.
Having the memory of a goldfish, if anybody has watched Ted Lasso, good TV show, you should watch it. But one of the things that he talks about is that when something goes wrong, something goes wrong on the soccer field, it's good to have the memory of a goldfish, because you can move on, not dwell on the mistakes of your past, and that mean that you can do better in the future because you're not solely focused on how you messed up in the past. And that it's important, honestly, in anything, sports, esports, day-to-day activities. And with EQV4 knowing that, yeah, they lost that rush, but putting it behind them, moving on, winning this defense and a couple more beyond that is going to be the more important thing than just saying, okay, what could we have done in the past?
Yeah, it's usually about this time in the broadcast that we offer some kind of introspective advice.
It's almost midnight, Sticula.
Getting pretty late here. But what I would say is, always learn from your mistakes, but don't get in a funk, so to speak, that you can't play, you can't move forward in the future is basically the way things will go here. RNO setting up for a lobby attack as they've gotten the hatch open. They are going to counter a little bit of resistance, not only that player over by E1, but also somebody upstairs as well, kind of by the marble side.
quiet middle of the round for both of these teams. Is the Collegiate Connoisseurs haven't directly headed straight for these roamers. I mean, Zez has a great angle on the Connoisseur player. He just fires a little bit too early to get that exact headshot, as the drone has his 4K ray traced and sees like exact footage of him missing that C4 by a mile. So Collegiate Connoisseurs, they're going to be able to push up, force a lot of these roamers back with a lot of time on their side. As Mustard, what a flick onto Zach. That means that the cams are going to be in the attackers' really cameras. So now, I mean, it feels like everything is kind of shifting towards Collegiate Connoisseurs here.
Dokkaebi absolutely just put the perfect amount of sauce on that shot against Zach. And now they're worried about a vault drop. They got a lot of different things to consider here. Sort of a passive look by one of the Collegiate members out towards garage, with one kind of creeping down the front stairwell. Says the flash will come. He steps back, another flash to come forward, and the Ash might have a play here. In fact, she does. Wacko immediately taken out in response, though, by Z, as Semi will choke out Mustard. He might have a second. There's the 416 coming alive. Collegiate lose another body, and the last one goes too. So even though the start looked a little bit rough and they had the cameras turned over to the wrong side, that doesn't matter. They executed flawlessly, and we're just right there where they needed to be.
5v5. We were not here previously. Connoisseurs were up 6-4. So max regulation is, of course, where we are headed, but is overtime the intended play? EQV4, they decide to head to the second floor, and right now, Collegiate, they're leaning towards the glass play. It is, I'm going to be honest, it is a large risk to try the glass play. They're not bringing the Monty so far, but I've seen them try to execute something with glass on the second floor, and it was a great play that was only countered by the fact that they were playing up against a pro league team, of which actually no, wait, was that HK Rebels? I'm confusing my bank games, so ignore all of what I'm saying. I am a crazy person who does not know what they're talking about. I was talking about the HK Rebels game.
It's okay, we get them mixed up sometimes. You know, there's so much Siege that you have to, it's hard to keep track of it all. I mean, wow. Anyway, it'll be EQV4 with an opportunity to put themselves up ahead of the Collegiate Connoisseurs. It's been mostly a game decided by the Collegiate representative in this best of 3, and so far just here on the map of Bank itself. Collegiate Connoisseurs, honestly, their attacks haven't been perfect. They've had some holes, some opportunities where they've been uncovered. In EQV4, as long as they continue to play with a lot of communication and understand, the needs of their players, making calls for additional support when it's needed. I mean, you got a good shot here, and this was just beyond dirty from Semi. Oh, and he just gets popped from up on the skylight.
Hey, he shot the drone, and Wacko took that personally. Takes out the Frost, takes out the clear fragger on EQV4, and somebody's going to have to pick up the slack that was kind of lost with that Frost going down, as a Black Eye has been found out, does get shot out, as the IQ has really been making wonders throughout this entire map, shutting down Valkyrie. There isn't a Solace that she can kind of peek out, but still, her ability to deny a lot of information is going to be important. Glaz peers through that smoke, spots the Azami through that barricade, but really now tries to just see what he can get. Can he get something with any smoke canisters? It dissipates, and so does Glaz's position. But Arno, he's kind of that player that we need to talk about. He is inside of the site and planting. Reese.
Oh, the C4, it goes way off target, and RNO, he can't be stopped. Both the defenders completely empty their magazines, but to no success. RNO, he's able to complete the plant, and Zach takes a punching. RNO able to lock him down, and the Therm will go for a second. Duke, the only one to even manage a fight back there, and Zez, I mean, this is about as unwinnable as they get. He walks into a clear sight line. RNO took total control of that round. A triple kill. He got the bomb down in perfect coverage, and that one is just a total mix-up there from EQV4. It'll give Collegiate the edge. One more round, and EQV4 are going home.
We've been in this position before. Reese, Collegiate, we're up 6-5. We believe we are going to get a pause. So now with EQV4 having 60 seconds to think about what they want to do. This could be the last round that we see them in the Storm competitive series, at least this season. Maybe they'll have a chance in the next one, but I mean, this is kind of a shot that you're only going to get once. The chances of going through the qualifiers again are very low because, well, you're probably not going to have the same kind of path towards qualifying for SCS, so making the best chances that you have going up against your opponent right now, Collegiate Connoisseurs, taking at least one map away from them, it's something. You've shown that you can have the ability to win. And I mean, there have been players that have shown up on both sides, especially with EQB4, but at least take something home. Take a consolation map at least.
Honestly, I don't believe in consolations. You either win and you're ecstatic, or you lose and you're beside yourself. You know? What's that old saying? You know, second place is the biggest loser. I believe in that, you know? Get it done and fight your way through. Don't just fight back for the sake of winning only this map.
Attackers need to locate.
You know, do it for the sake of moving on and making the comeback at large and fighting through to the decider and fighting through to the rest of our Swiss bracket that we've got. Because for EQV4, it's my opinion that they would go home a little bit disappointed if not only were they knocked out, you know, 0-3, but also lost out on an opportunity to face any of our pro league caliber talent that we have participating in this event. They did get to face Ariel Arise. It's not often that you get to play a Challenger League team, but this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for a lot of these players to square up 5-on-5 in a comp match against some of the best in North American Rainbow Six.
I mean, they also have a lot of eyes on them as well. That is something else that you get here, and then you've got, I mean, you've got Super Stream, you've got whoever is here on the main Nerd Street stream that otherwise really wouldn't see you. So especially you see players like Duke, you see players like Semi, what he's been able to do in this map. Spaz, his ability to clutch in certain scenarios. You only get one shot. And with EQV4 down one round, they need to win one to at least send us to overtime. But Collegiate can clinch it right here, right now.
Well, the big one, do or die. And we have a little bit of a sneaking lurk here by Wacko. He just kind of houses himself at the bottom of these stairs. Certainly can hear the Melusi. It doesn't seem to me like Semi is going to be moving much in that direction. Oh, but there's a spawn peek. It's Z. Will he be able to make it back in? Oh, he gets another! What a tremendous play there by Z, and he hunts in. Is there the player for the cutoff? Not a chance. Wacko is not even really in the same area code, and I believe that defender will run right up the red stairs into safe harbor, knowing that he took out the hard breacher and the soft breacher.
Oh, Mustard can find another one, can't find the third. And so what was a great equalizer for Collegiate Connoisseurs suddenly has to fall into the arms of somebody else. Spaz does spot Semi, rotating all the way back to the first floor. And now Wacko's position, I believe, will be revealed along with potentially the shots. As Semi has a lower amount of health, but he's still going to try to tread around this map, be that threat that Collegiate Connoisseurs still have to worry about. But there is enough time on the clock here, Reese, where Collegiate can use their drones that they have in their pocket, Spaz and Wacko, and just try to get information and then work off of that. They have the health, they have everything they need to actually win this round out. It's going to be a little bit unfavorable on their side, but with 45 seconds left, only one man down, you gotta hope that their spirits are high.
Wacko is still trying to fight his way through. It'll be Spaz. That long game of cat and mouse between the Valkyrie and the IQ will finally come to a close. Now Wacko going to step forward. Nobody immediately presenting themselves. EQV4 just going to go ahead and try to play this one perfectly. There's one opportunity. Looks like a player over by Printer, but the castle, I don't think, immediately availed to the shot. Wacko does not spot him. Look at this player tucked right. Wacko hits the adjustment. He does not again spot the castle. That'll be his undoing. EQV4, the tactical timeout goes. They come back prepared, and they push us to overtime here on Bank.
And, well, a strap in for at least 2 more rounds between these two teams. Collegiate get to sit themselves on the defense, EQV4 on the attack. And, well, Collegiate, they get to go down to the basement. I feel like Collegiate has the advantage if they don't let EQV4 walk over them. If they don't let Semi walk inside of the site, find 3. Because EQV4's attack isn't as coordinated as it should be for some of these rounds. So as long as we see a normal siege round in which whoever gets the opening picks, gets some after that, has the advantage in the last 30 seconds, usually wins that round, I think Collegiate can walk away with this one. Of course, it is about getting that opening pick. That they shut down Duke, who they did in that first round, Z, or Semi. Any one of those 3 players, if they are the first death, that is a treasure trove that Collegiate can work off of.
Well, another treasure that they could do with right now would probably be Wacko, who has put up big numbers in any game that you can go to in his SCS experience so far. Has been there even against some of the higher level of competition that Collegiate have played. But in this one as well, the first map for him was really solid. I mean, had lots of moments where he was able to find openings and exploit those. Now, to me, it feels like he's been kind of understood. He's been read by EQ, and they have had a lot of moments where they've caught him out, and they made sure that if he gets a kill, right, it does not become a multi-kill, because that was the biggest problem, is a runaway train, and it was a large reason of why Collegiate Connoisseurs took the first map in regulation.
You can see assisted by that Gemini clone. There are no players from Collegiate up on that second floor. They are mainly stationed on that first floor. Wacko has one little angle that if Wacko, he gets one small peek at Zez's head, it would be taken right off, but Zez just does not fall right into order. So Collegiate Connoisseurs, they have to find their entry in some other way. Maybe it's over by this blue stairs, maybe it's over in staff or archives. There are a lot of areas where roamers are positioned that could really take out EQV4 right here, right now, but none of them are truly positioning themselves in a way to take some of these gunfights. It's still just apprehension on both sides.
Well, the Dokkaebi has got to inarguably be the most influential operator so far in this map with, of course, Solus banned out. Z takes a lot of damage. He sends a few shots back to RNO as well. But those Dokkaebi calls, it seems like they're just coming in non-stop. The switchboard is lighting up. There's Duke. He starts it off. Wacko, that player I had been looking to, now currently double negative. Not the best position that you would want to be in. See if he might be able to recover on the next round of OT. There's Zez. He gets one before he waltzes into the Frost map, but never fear. You've got Zach on the coverage as well. Zach not having the most perfect game, but in a big moment, he gets an opportunity. And RNO, he scores forward. He gets rid of Semi. Now he hits the drop down. Their roam is done. Spaz, fortunately, with the missed adrenal surge, but you got another one left in pocket. Spaz maybe even using the overheal on himself.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Zez actually got revived, though, from that Frost map, so that wasn't an advantage that Collegiate Connoisseurs could have grabbed and made it a 2v2. There isn't going to be any health that EQV4 can grab, so it's a 3v2. 30 seconds left. The hatches have direct access to the site that EQV4 can use, but they have to choose whether or not to truly send the black eye. Sees 2 players drop into the hatch. There isn't a C4 that Collegiate Connoisseurs can work off of. Plan denial has to be bullets and only their bullets. Duke covers from that hatch, and Spaz gets full blinded. Duke walks in, takes out Spaz, but RNO is up on the hatch. He spots the diffuser, but he has to spot 2 players left on EQV4. He drops. He has the health advantage on one of them, not the other. He tries to go take a gunfight inside of the other side, but time is of the essence here, Reese, and now it is slowly starting to trickle away, and as he goes all the way to dirt. He can't find a single player. I hate to say it, I think this one might fall in EQV4's favor as Arno gets on the diffuser. The frag grenade goes forward, and it isn't even the frag, it is the bullets from Duke. It means that EQV4, they are 1 round away from going to map 3.
Trying to shift the storyline a little bit there. EQV4, I think by this time we're starting to understand that they are pretty solid when they can get down towards the execute on that bottom floor site. Never, mattering if it's a man disadvantage or if they're in a spot where they've got, 10 or 15 seconds to set up. They just got it all done. They opened up all the various different hatches to make sure those routes were available, and just the timing was a little bit poor on Collegiate Connoisseur's side. The flank up top, it was too late to deny the plant, and it was also too late to provide any support, and just the heads-up play, I think, by EQV4 to know the player's about to complete the plant. I'm going to send my flashbang. I'm going to drop down there. That's game sense. Knowing that this other player is not with his teammate, he's rotating right now up those main stairs to try to flank me. So I'm not going to allow it to happen. I just get in there, really saucy, gets the round win. And as you said, EQV4 just need one more round. One more defense, one more attack, whichever one they're going to get it done with. And they can give themselves another shot, another life in this series onto our decider.
Sometimes it feels like a lot of these rounds, especially early on, like if you're going from the start all the way to about a minute 15 seconds, can be decided sometimes with like a coin flip. That you don't truly know who's going to come out on top because of how the defenders are spread out, how they're kind of working with each other. You could never truly get a sense on who has the natural advantage. Like right now, EQV4 feel on top. Like they have the defense, they have the momentum. I mean, they have won, I think they've won a couple rounds in a row, but ever since we've kind of had that side swap, EQV4 has felt in the driver's seat. So you feel like everything is kind of coming to a head. That they win this round, and then they go on to win, maybe not win, but they go on to map 3. I can feel confident in that because of how this entire series has went all night, that if you make a prediction, you are going to be wrong. Like, it is Caster's Curse central between some of these teams.
Not much of an extension here from EQV4. Do have a few players kind of in that open area, maybe somebody over by the small office. And there is one top blue as well. Seen that be a very common spot held so far. Collegiate Connoisseurs took them a bit of a chunk of time to even really get through that top floor. I think the Osa was held up a bit, and D-Son, he just walks into a mountain of Capcan traps.
Goyo. Capcan traps. I thought he blew himself up.
No, I don't think so. It sounded like it was Capcan traps. Oop. Goyo, he's coming pretty close here. Oh, and he does get the shot. A big win for him. Oh, but he just gets traded out by Mustard from above.
And you saw Duke getting close, taking the gunfight, but making the better decision, dropping down the hatch, knowing that Collegiate do have the edge in that gunfight. That because you have the player over by Square, you had the player over by the second floor as well, that Collegiate, they've taken care of the row. There's about a minute and 10 seconds left. I think the players walking up blue are the only real question mark that you have left. That the players holding the shotgun, you cannot absolutely go on for. They are going to see the smoke with those jackal pings, and he's just going to skedaddle all the way back over the site. And Zach, who has not moved the entire round, gets something for his troubles, but Z just completely unaware that the Habana up on the hatch. It is 3-3. 30 seconds left. Collegiate have to win this round to go to the maximum overtime, and here's where the execution starts.
Got the Osa in just the perfect plant spot, but she needs to be careful about this rotate. The smoke is going to ice her out. There's the coverage, but in the meanwhile, it's left just to RNO, and he gets blown sky high by Zach with the C4. EQV4 looked out of this one, but they come back and they push us through to an overtime thriller, and they will give us our deciding map of Chalet.
and some clinch plays and some good defenses and good attacks. Everything was much better from EQV4. They're able to take advantage of Collegiate Connoisseur's mistakes instead of vice versa, which is what we saw on that first map. Still closer than EQV4 really would have liked, but I mean, map 3, it still feels like a coin flip. I was favoring Collegiate on this map. I was wrong. I cannot make a prediction going into map 3 because I feel like whoever I am asking towards, whoever I'm leaning for, is not going to end up winning in that one. But honestly, a great second map from EQV4. A lot to work on for Collegiate Connoisseurs despite a much better start, I think, than that first map. There is a lot to work on both sides, but finishing it out, there's one more map to go, Reese.
Well, it's been a brutal one so far, and the timeout called 3 rounds in a row. A monstrous comeback from EQV4. We'll see if they've got more left in the tank with Chalet just ahead of the break.
Pollard's on a double, though, and he finds the third to the smoke. Just enough. Getting it to 3K with it. With 3 seconds left, Final lands the pre-fire. Nobody can kill him in time. He clutches it out. What a play from the alibi as the lobby player goes unchecked.
Hey, I'm Wacko. I play for the Collegiate Connoisseurs. I would say that competition in the offseason is very important for many teams. It's a way to practice against your other competition that you'll eventually be playing. If you can't find those competitions in the offseason, there's always scrimming. That's just more practice for your team to develop into the team you want to be. Our team will have the potential to upset a lot of these teams. At the end of the day, we're here for fun. A lot of these teams want to win the whole thing, and certainly that's one of our goals, but just glad that we made it to the league. We have a lot of things to show. Their strengths, they're all organized teams. They practice almost every day. They failed to adapt to our play style, as evident by our qualifier round. Managed to knock off a lot of good teams, and that's why we're here today. Well, I started playing on Xbox back in like 2016. I eventually wanted to switch to PC, so got a PC, started playing. I just found it much more enjoyable than Xbox. I started to play Collegiate R6, which is just competition between all colleges in the US and Canada. I decided to form a team to compete in SCS. It ended up working out for us, so we're all happy to be here. Aerial Rise Academy versus any PL team. First of all, they've destroyed all competition in T3 and T2. I guess their next target is T1. My other option would probably be us versus any PL or CL team. It's always interesting to see how college teams will play against professional teams. Like, you'll think about Alabama football playing against the Texans or something like that. Just seeing us versus like a PL team, it would be cool to see the difference between how we play and how they play and how we stack up against each other. We have no strat, literally nothing prepared. We're just going in and seeing what we can do. I guess more like a ranked play style. Like I said before, we're just here to have fun. We're certainly having a lot of fun, and the fact that we're here now is crazy. But us having fun is going to be advantageous to us. We don't really care what the end result is because we've already made it this far. A bit of a wild 2 songs that I go with. It's Fireflies by Owl City. That is a banger. How Bad Can I Be from the Lorax. You gotta listen to it. Let's go with Cotton Candy. I just recently had that, and it is so good. I try to get it every time.
Yo, what's up? My name is Zez, and I play for EQV4. I feel like PL teams, they're good. They're in PL, obviously, but I feel like they're going to underestimate amateur teams, and it could possibly affect them in a match or two. It's going to be a good match no matter who they play. I'm excited to play them. Trolling. We didn't take opponents serious enough, and we just had fun. Determined to lock in during the league and focus up. I think Zach is the most doubted and slept on person. Very good for what people make him out to be. Glad to see him perform in SCS. I think the player on our team that I CL/PL ready is Duke. He quit comp for a little bit, but he's back and he's ready to prove it. I'm glad to be playing with him.
Looks at one side. Let's go.
Op 4, last stop standing.
Wow.
Eliminate. Last operator standing.
I feel like there's some amateur teams that be in CL right now and could compete that are better than some CL teams. I think we can prove it in SCS with playing PL and CL teams frequently. Last show I binge watched was Breaking Bad. I'm on the final 3 episodes right now. Very good. I watch it during class. The things I do to relax and unwind is probably lay on my bed, watch TikTok, watch YouTube, maybe play this game called Risk of Rain. Pretty fun game. I recommend it. I play Valorant, Risk of Rain, Call of Duty, going for Orion. Pretty excited about that. Stray, the cat game, that was pretty cool. That's about it.
On the wall. He's on board window.
One Op 4 remaining.
White.
Op 4, last operator standing.
Oh my god!
On a double, though, and he finds the third to the smoke. Just enough. Getting into 3K with it up.
With 3 seconds left, Final lands the pre-fire. Nobody can kill him in time.
He clutches it out. What a play from the alibi as the lobby player goes unchecked.
Well, it's our very last map of the evening. No further shenanigans await us as the decider cracks on. We just got done with overtime, an insane sequence of things between the Collegiate Connoisseurs and EQV4 there on Bank, and it was nice to see what the perspectives of both of these two players from the two respective teams that we got in this matchup. My name is Sticula, back here with Light Rose for Chalet as we've got just ahead.
Yeah, of course. We heard some exciting things. We got some wacko lore. Heard some
Cotton
good
candy
things
ice
from
cream.
Zez. Yeah, I mean, hearing how he listens to How Bad Can I Be from the Lorax was a fun tidbit, of course. But moving on from the break, moving on to the present, we've got that band phase as Collegiate Connoisseurs. I mean, Nook Warden has kind of been their go-to. EQP4, it's been a lot more map-centric with them. They took out the Solus in the previous map. Is that going to be their go-to for this one? That wouldn't surprise me as well, but we've also seen Solus today on Chalet as well. We've seen how the impact that she can have, but Ying gonna be that first attack man. That also isn't a surprise considering what teams really like to bring on this map.
See who we do get defender-wise as Nook and Ying are taken away. No big shocker there. Azami is such a powerful operator on Chalet. Can change so many of these sites to where they're almost unrecognizable, and attacking them is just something you do not want to do. It's Valkyrie who gets taken out. She was really there a lot of time back on our previous map of Bank, and with those two removed, of course, everybody is going to be screaming and shouting because they know that Solus is allowed here on this one as well, just as Solus was when we had Chalet during the Reality TV versus S2 Esports matchup that we had earlier on broadcast. Solus, really a strong operator, but one of the main points that I do specifically remember Mr. Crow mentioning was the fact that didn't see a lot of Solus on bar and gaming, so it was hard to really find a spot to slot that operator in.
Attackers need to locate
Arno kind of defying that, however. He's bringing it right here, right now.
He just does whatever he
And
wants.
He kind of does, truly, in a lot of these scenarios. I mean, do we want to go back to Skyscraper? What I believe was it the final round where Arno tried to jump out and was extremely
Oh my
unsuccessful
God.
there? we could dredge up some things about Arno, but right now we're all clean slate for everybody. It's round 1 of map 3 of the decider of who will be eliminated from SCS or who goes on to be 1 and 2 and face some pretty difficult teams. We don't know who their opponents might be, as I believe that might be decided in the next round, but we're gonna have to see at the end of all this where the bracket kind of stands, as that I believe will happen at the end of the stream, so make sure you stay tuned for that as well. But Wacko getting us started in Semi, who was the hero of a lot of rounds for EQV4 in the previous map. He has no say in this one.
I guess I'm starting to kind of become a member of the Chris Wacko fan club. Chris Wacko last name. He has really been hitting some shots so far. Wasn't really much of a player to talk about on Bank, and I think that's a big reason why we're left here on the Decider, because he went huge on the very first map when we were still back on Skyscraper. There's the impact, of course, of Solus just being able to find out some of those drones, making sure the offense are going to feel the hurt, but it's Mustard who takes the beating in response as Duke gets in with a strong entry there against the Frost.
Arno is just going to fire that P90 there. 50 bullets inside of it. On the other side, you're going to see another player start to continue to light up the kill feed. Wacko gets his second, as right now EQV4, they're sputtering a little bit when finding some of these roamers. They have to deal with Arno, they have to deal with Wacko, and so much more. And they're struggling to do that so far. They don't have any more Lion King, dangerously close to not having their hard breach anymore, but so far they're stabilized just a little bit, not enough that they can really feel safe, but so far the players are in direct line of sight of another, and now they can start to work towards actually getting rid of these roamers.
There's the breaching round. It's unsuccessful on the deployable. The second one is good, though. So the death of the Flores early is made up for, and maybe even a bit of an extra reward there, as there was no fallback. Oh, but Spaz, he pops up and he hoses Duke. The Ash just barely gets to cover in time. It's been Collegiate connoisseurs not allowing an inch of control without fighting for their dear lives.
And Zez breaching open that wall, does see the Jaeger just hiding behind that reinforced wall, but can't really do anything about it. He can't take this gunfight head on because, well, he's kind of in a dangerous situation. He has that diffuser, he has a lower amount of health. There isn't a lot that EQV4 can actually do because this round is really holding up on a knife's edge, but Zez takes out Jaeger right there, potentially through the soft wall, as will with 20 seconds left, and EQ is going to have to drop onto the site, take out these two players, or try to get the diffuser down. All of them not really favorable options. We are going to see Jez drop. He gets taken out right then and there as Wacko gets 4 on the first round of Chalet, and I think that is really the start he needs.
Just phenomenal for him to come into this one after such a snooze fest. I think he probably ended the second map even with maybe 6 or 7 kills. Already he's up to 4. It really tells you a lot that just one map, you could just have that map as a player that you feel just weird on. You can never quite get that one down, and that was last map for Wacko. Not so much here on Chalet, but also just a really good setup from the Collegiate connoisseurs with how they considered things on the top floor. They were very insistent on not, letting anything fly without an immediate response here over kind of early in the stage of that attack by this dining and kitchen area. Eventually, they got a body. They lost a body. They took off from that area, but it wasted a lot of time. It almost felt like there was nothing else happening on the rest of the map for EQV4 because they were just set up and they were waiting so long there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a problem that both of these teams have had on the attack all day, honestly, is that they kind of get stuck, don't really know how to find a way out of the rut that they're in, and then they just end up wasting time, which kind of tumbles all the way into a poor execution and a round loss. Now, we've seen that EQV4 have found themselves out of that situation a couple of times on the previous map. I mean, Semi on Basement is one type of those, but if Collegiate connoisseurs do not let EQV4 get away with that, this could be a different map, because that is really what gave EQ the foot in the door. That's what allowed them to get a couple rounds on the attack, and then that stumbled all the way up to overtime, and then an 8-6 scoreline. EQ walks away with the map. But like I said, do not give EQ an inch, because, well, they'll make it a mile in certain scenarios.
Wacko had tried to kind of get it started early there, and there was also RNO hoping to manufacture a play down by the mud room. It'll be the Alibi who takes a bit of damage just from that player out on the big window rappel. Wacko will readjust now. I think he's anticipating some solar pressure. Okabe, interestingly, not present in this composition from EQV4, an operator that was so influential and would be very handy when you've got Desan just kind of sneaking forward. The C4 goes up, and you could not have placed it better, right? Center mass against Zach. He is taken out for the count, and that's Osa too.
And no more shields that EQ can work off of, so they just kind of have to take these gunfights head on without any Collegiate players really taken out, as now you have to focus your areas a lot more on that floor, destroying it potentially with some breaching charges. You've got Duke and Zez who can start to crack it open, maybe find a kill with some of that vertical play. But now Wacko, who has continued to light up the scoreboard, currently 5-0, has not died. Well, Zez, he's just falling. Collegiate, probably the best opening to a map so far that they have really needed. After that previous one, if they continue to stomp over EQB4, it's 2 players sitting between Collegiate and another round victory as Spaz just completely takes the Giannis head off. Right now, Collegiate look like a little bit of a different team than the previous 2 maps.
That said, you do not want to allow Duke an opportunity back into this one. He will hit the top floor, thinks that is his best opportunity. Oh, and it actually might be, but he just can't see the foot of that Alibi, or excuse me, that Mozzie that was down there just near the bottom of the stairs. Duke will try to uncover the Jaeger, but in turn actually goes ahead and shoots one of the Alibi Prismas. Now he steps in to take a bit of damage. There's no way you're going to make it past. Oh, but maybe Duke is going to be the one to defy this. He steps forward. One player just recoiling behind the bomb chassis. Duke does not have enough time.
Yeah, I mean, taking out Mustard to 4K, you needed an ace. I mean, you found gold, you needed diamond, basically, right there. It shouldn't have come that close, but Collegiate Connoisseurs, they get the round victory. I mean, it kind of changes how you might feel about them in this map, but I think at the end of the day, round results really matter in the end because every single round counts. Collegiate now going up 2. They get to go to the basement site, still bring the Soulless, preparing up against potentially a smoke plan, a lot of a Ying play with that Warden, but Wacko swapping off of it, swapping back onto the Warden. It's Collegiate kind of setting up for half of an anchor, half of a roam that benefits their kind of 50-50 playstyle that we see a lot from them.
Well, even though, despite that one was a little closer comfort, I just had a feeling that Duke was gonna make that one happen. You know, we heard in the little clip that we played before this one kicked off that it was Zez who said Duke is the player most deserving of being inside of Challenger League, and that was really a demonstration of why, with some great reflexes. But ultimately, you know, you can't ask a player to move the world every single round and expect that he does it. Collegiate Connoisseurs are leading us off 2-0, and we'll see what happens. Do things change for the better of EQV4 as we look down to the basement?
Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb.
Looking at the attackers, I mean, Duke is the person that we've looked for from the beginning of the match all the way to the end. He is putting up numbers, but I think right now everybody needs to step up. Like, you are in the final stretches of the game tonight. You need to really do it. You need to put all your hard work, sweat, and tears into this final map, and then you can take a break. Go move on to next week, and then play your game then. But Duke cannot be your only player that is really putting up kills, because that puts a lot of unneeded pressure onto the one player. If Collegiate start to focus and make sure that he doesn't have any play, what other answers does EQV4 have?
RNO was very aggressive from the window, just looking for every opportunity. Really tells you a lot about the way that this map is being played. There was one player who had moved up already past Laundry, it looked like, and that's actually Z, who is trying to step forward towards some of these other targets. Summers will come in. Zach is best wacko on the transaction there. Isan on the movement. Mustard just gets a little bit of chip damage against Semi, but the Sledge will make it out in the meantime. RNO, does he see that player on cams at the bottom of the stairs? Well, certainly they're aware of things now.
Oh, Spaz finds 2, but it isn't enough to really cement the round for Collegiate Connoisseur. You're going to have right now Arno. He's able to potentially see where some of these players are, maybe the diffuser are, but diffuser is not dropped. Zach still has it in his pocket. He actually takes out Arno, as now we're in a 1v2 situation. EQV4 have to fight their way back to get the round victory. I don't think the Banshee was loud enough to actually give Collegiate the information they needed, but clearly there is enough so that Mustard has some level of info. And now with the hedges slightly showing itself there, Reese, Collegiate get their 3rd round in a row. Is this the one-sided affair that I was preaching about all the way at the beginning of the show?
You know what? It definitely starts to feel like that, and this, I think you tack on another round here for Collegiate Connoisseurs, and it starts to confirm maybe that things are a bit of a runaway train. I think it's a perfectly chosen time out there for EQ. Just take a step back, realize that you had all that momentum at the end of Bank, big victory for them, but you don't want to let this one end with just a consolation. You don't want to go out of SCS 0-3, no wins. You want to say, I made it to the next stage. And then when you make it to that next stage, you know, fight like hell to make it to the stage after that. And the timeout here, EQ just kind of shake themselves, rally their spirits, and get back into this one. You need these attack rounds on Chalet.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what it is you, when you're at this stage, you have to take everything one step at a time, one map at a time, if you need to. With EQV4, I mean, losing that first one, they have to take it. Okay, we can't think about Chalet. We have to think about Bank, and then we'll move on from there. Okay, we win Chalet. Let's think about our next opponent, not who we might play after. We'll focus on the first map, second map, yada, 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 all the way until maybe you make it all the way into the end. Be that true underdog story, but both of these teams still fighting for a chance at the second round. Collegiate Connoisseurs, they've given themselves a real edge with these 3 rounds. I mean, they've completed the cycle. They get to go back to the sites they previously won. And I think this is the best shot that they've had, probably the best that they've looked all night if they continue to consistently do this over and over again. That is one thing that both of these teams really haven't had, is that consistency, and that makes for a very volatile game.
Well, you know, the problem last time we were on this objective wasn't really anything macro strategic. It was EQV4 being unable to stop a killing campaign by Wacko. We got 4 kills in that inaugural round, and that was just the problem. And they couldn't do anything, couldn't really get much in the way of setup. Eventually, on that one, they did clear the top floor, so, you know, check that off on your little coach's notebook that, yeah, we completed the first step, but we also let this player just kill and kill and kill and kill, and we could never find an opportunity for there to be a spot where we traded him out. That really comes down to the isolations and not being, you know, close enough to your next teammate.
We'll see if the attack tries to focus on Wacko as well. Now, I mean, in these past couple rounds, Spaz and Deson have actually gotten a couple more to their name. So it's not only the Wacko show, you've got a couple more fraggers that could have something else. Arno potentially might need to worry about some players over by Trophy, over by Small Garage that could be hunting his position. There's another drone that he is able to shoot, as clearly EQV4 are starting to centralize their attack and their roam clear over towards this northern area. Duke goes down, which would be devastating for the EQ attack, but Zez is going to be right there, potentially get the res, potentially get the opening frag, but it's actually going to be Z. And, well, Wacko, he was a little bit silent in the round ago. He is not in this one.
Still is this player down. Somebody else is going to hop in and fall down the hatch. Maybe that was intentional. Yeah, it was. I almost thought that was a mistake, but no, they do get the player down to drop out of that combat zone and get him healed back up. It might not matter, though. Wacko is still lighting up the server. Zez is nearby and hunting. There's the shot you needed against RNO, making sure that wasn't the Ash of Duke about to get surprised by somebody creeping in from the central hallway.
Well, Duke still alive means that there's still somebody on EQ who can put up numbers consistently at that. He doesn't have the health that he would probably want for this, as he is walking on a treadmill. Seems to be some internet problems, but I mean, it's gonna mean that, yeah, Duke, he's gonna have to do a lot here. Another 1vx that he has to complete, but Spaz has his number right there, and Collegiate Connoisseurs 4 in a row for them. Reese.
Collegiate Connoisseurs, what can you say? I mean, that one just another triple kill, big multi cross map performance from Wacko, with just a lot of very off the cuff, kind of loose positioning. RNO, Spaz, different players finding different opportunities, and I really don't know what EQV4 can do to snap this streak. When they had a tactical timeout, they knew what side it was going to be. And again, they still just got bogged down on the first floor on the opposite side of the map. Like, you just couldn't get past it. I guess the thought is, you know, if you're going to do an overtake, you don't want to get C4'd from below. But if you're going to do the overtake, you have to be able to make it at least to step 2 or 3. And that's, you know, that's regression. Because last time, EQV4, they did eventually get over. This time, they couldn't even start walking on the second floor.
Maybe it's the fact that we're late into the night. Maybe it's that we're at map 3. But, I mean, it's honestly, it's a little surprising that EQV4 would win out Bank, go 8-6, and then go on to Chalet, and then so far not put up a single round in the first 4. After they've been, I mean, they've been so-so on their attack. It hasn't been amazing, but it has been horrible. And then to kind of go on here and then just fall flat on their face, it takes me by surprise. But they still have the ability to get 2 to their name. They need to get 2 to their name. Otherwise, I know I said I haven't had to do many predictions. I shouldn't do many predictions because a lot of time they've been wrong. I'm going to be confident. I'm going to say that if EQV4 do not get 2 rounds, they are going to unfortunately lose this one.
And they got to be convincing rounds for me personally. I feel like, you know, you got to get these ones. Oh, there's Duke. He is just taking so much damage. Is able to put some back on RNO, but great team play there by Z. That's kind of the communication aspect that we are looking to see more of. RNO is also similarly in this same area. I almost want to say that they're aware of it, though, just judging by Duke and how he's watching this. RNO not ready for it. This is a great play by Duke. Oh, but the drone is actually going to give up the gambit, and that might lead to RNO being in a little bit of a better spot. He's got the escape hatch as he just gets right down to the basement and removes himself from that area of the fight. Oh.
And the escape plan. Okay. Wacko kind of cut to him in a wrong time there, as he gets dangerously close to letting a player live for far too long, but still finds the kill. actually gets taken out himself, but immediately Collegiate Connoisseurs has an answer to that, as they've had an answer to almost every kill that EQV4 has had, minus the 1vXs that Duke has had to do. Spaz, I mean, we haven't really said his name a lot tonight. We've kindly focused on Wacko, but he is 7-3. He's going to have to do something in this round, as now Collegiate Connoisseurs, they're really down on the man count for probably the first time tonight. This round is in contention for the first time tonight. Arno does spot a player through the wall with the phone, but that air jab is going to keep him from his prize territory. He just has to wait on the other side and hope that EQB4 actually come to him, but I'm not betting on that.
2 air jabs as well. If one wasn't enough, let's do a second. Last time we were here, Duke had such a monstrous performance, but RNO is above and could easily deny this plant. This is going to be a tough one. Spaz is playing it carefully. RNO immediately spots out the plant. Oh, but he's not got the shot. He needs to adjust, and he will. RNO will stop Zach in there. Spaz to come online from West Main. Duke recovers, but he needs to at least eliminate this one player down in the basement. Finally adjusts. It won't be a denial from up above. Duke bails off the plant as time has almost run out, and he just can't get to the target. It's Duke one more time. He nearly gets it all done, but at the last hurdle, he face plants.
5 letters. S-O-L-I-S. Soulless. A difference maker in that round, able to see the diffuser through the wall, go straight to it, and maybe miss the shots at first, but course correct, and get that kill, shut it down, and then cause EQV4 to scramble all around, not have a direct answer, because honestly, I wouldn't either. It's something that I believe it was either S2 or RTV struggled with, the same exact thing. That Soulless was able to see the diffuser, and basically those last second plant attempts, when they didn't have top floor control, they were just trying to get in the bomb site, put that diffuser down, somehow claim the round. Soulless would be able to go up on that seg floor or the bottom floor and shut it down. Plain as day. And that makes these kind of attacks a lot harder to do. It makes Soulless such a valuable operator for these types of plays. And Arno, he may not have a lot of kills to his name right now, but he's got one very, very important one that may not have guaranteed the round for Collegiate Connoisseurs, but heavily swung in favor of.
10 seconds to insertion.
Well, we've passed the point that you were thinking of. We would need 2 rounds in this half from EQV4 for it to be, winnable. However you want to put it. That was a close one. Close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. And it just wasn't there enough from EQV4, who again were tormented by Soulless and just a variety of other factors. Looks to be maybe a Cade trick. Won't be successful there. Spaz didn't have a second in pocket, and a bad impact toss from the Malusi. Not able to get it forward there. EQV4, it's time to get ready and get it done, and they already started off on a sour note as they've lost Duke.
But I mean, they took out the Soulless. They took out the player that can have the biggest impact as the timer hits 000. So a good trade, honestly. You might not need the Thatcher anymore, but you're not really worried about Thatcher. Right now, you're worried about Duke. He doesn't have a gun. And now another player from EQV4 is off the board. Deson, he's unable to find that, what would be a nail in the coffin type of frag, but it is still somewhat up in the air. I think it might, the winds might have changed, Reese, with that kill onto Mustard. It's continuing to be back and forth between these teams. Every advantage one gets, it's immediately swept away with an immediate refrag. As the bullets have stopped firing on both sides, we still are only halfway through the round. The good thing for EQV4, they have the diffuser, they have frag grenades, they have the ability to get information. Collegiate Connoisseurs, they have a C4. I was going to say they didn't, but they still have wackos in pocket. So there's a lot of potential on both sides. Kinetic energy, you might say.
Disciplined here from EQV4. Go ahead and open up the connector hatch. C4 threat still looms, but right now Wacko is inside blue. You could maybe think about a creep up. Spaz will vacate the site. And you would think this one heavily favored to Collegiate, the two top fraggers from the Connoisseurs. And on the other side, you do have Z, who's already started off decently in this round. Almost sort of the two teams trading places. Spaz is still in the site, and he spots the ace, gets a little bit of damage, but it's the vertical that's going to be the big factor here for Wacko, who takes out Z, and Semi is peppered with bullets, and it'll be Spaz on the wide swing. Collegiate Connoisseurs, a flawless half. They are not giving up.
Ah, yes, the good old 7-5, 8-6, 7-0 map 3. What? How do we go from such a close game that, I mean, you couldn't predict how map 3 would go, and then it's just EQV4? I mean, either not showing up, not stopping Wacko, but even Wacko isn't the main problem. It's also some of these operators that Collegiate Connoisseurs brought on the defense. It's Spaz, Mustard. It's not just one player that you can point to on Collegiate that is the main scourge. I mean, Wacko, he's 11-4. He is a big deal right now on the side of Collegiate Connoisseurs, but really everybody on Collegiate is doing a good job. And that's really all you need, is good teamwork. And maybe it's late enough in the night that EQ, they just don't have the gumption to take down what Collegiate are bringing to the table.
Now I see you're stealing words from my lexicon.
It's a night, you gotta like grab stuff from different casters, like puns, vocabulary, rhymes, like, and you just gotta mold yourself into like the perfect all-in-one.
The puns were just out of control back in the day. They were just running rampant. Distinctly remember that one. I think this one has mainly been Wacko has been solid, as you said. The rest kind of all around. It's been very well rounded from Collegiate. Spaz, who wasn't really super crazy on Skyscraper, has really turned on the afterburners, and maybe this is Collegiate Connoisseurs saying the substitute has now settled into the system, and everything is just going full steam ahead, right as you would be. So this is going to be a trick play on the site, where they're going to look to set up for the execute by trophy, and then send Wacko up the hatch into dining late.
Well, this window could be the gateway to the first opening kill, potentially. Another window. There's a lot of windows that EQV4 can peer through, try to get an opening kill, but nobody on the side of Collegiate is really peeking. They're opening it up, setting up the pretext, but then just kind of waiting it out. The zipping of the Amaru inside of the site. It's a 1-for-1 trade. You're trading out Wacko for Duke. That's top fraggers on both sides at this point. D-Sun doesn't die from the player who hopped outside. Almost dead. I mean, basically dead. They're on like 2 health at this point, but still surviving right now.
Well, I honestly had a feeling that was going to happen, that Wacko would just fly in there. It almost felt like after you couldn't get into trophy that you just call that play off, that it's not going to work getting up the hatch, because you need a distraction. Wacko didn't have one. He just got up the hatch, had a better gun against Duke, and then got traded back by a player hopping up at smoke spot. So we'll see the adjustment here from the Collegiate Connoisseurs. If they could get D-Son down for the count, you know, you're not looking terrible. You still have to fend off Spaz, and you will fend him off. And so now it's left to 3 players who haven't really had much of the limelight, save for maybe D-Son and Mustard. What just happened there? Just hopped in the window, said it's time to go. This could be EQ's first round of the map.
I mean, it's looking clunky for Collegiate for sure, but they have 6 rounds. Like, you can clip this, play it back to me later. The amount of room that Collegiate Connoisseurs have given themselves, they can make room for mistakes. They can have rounds like these because they can lose 3, 4 in a row, and all it takes is 1. It takes a couple mistakes from EQV4 on their defense, maybe in a couple rounds, that Collegiate can just clinch it right then and there. Desan gets 1, but it's a consolation kill at the moment. I mean, you mentioned consolation maps. You'll take a consolation kill at the latest. So EQV4, it's not a 7-0, but it is still nowhere near where it should be for them.
And yeah, you're almost thinking it's kind of a too late type scenario. That round was largely, I think, sent over to the EQ camp because of some mistakes made. Just a play that was drawn up by Wacko to come up the hatch that was half-baked. And it just wasn't. He just wanted to do that. It almost felt like he had a checklist, and he was like, at least one time this game, at least one time here in SCS, I'm going to do the Amaru thing, and I'm going to come up the hatch into the objective. He got one, didn't work. The rest of his team was sort of SOL, and they couldn't recover from that one. So, like you said, there's lots of padding. There's 5 opportunities to do this one. And, you know, I struggle to see a reality where EQV4 can make a comeback. You know, usually as casters, we have some kind of an inkling that we know, okay, somebody's just gone crazy. There's the morale back. There's the opportunity for the comeback to happen.
Haha, a 6-0 comeback can happen.
Oh,
right, guys?
now, be careful.
Right, guys? That could totally not happen this late into the night, this far into SCS in this day. That would be crazy, but EQV4, I mean, they'd have to work for it. If they would want to fight their way back from a 6-0 deficit, it would have to be a slugfest, and I think something would have to change. I mean, Collegiate, I feel like the only way that it happens is if they not even shoot themselves in the foot, if they basically shoot their feet off at that point, then there's a chance EQV4 could complete the comeback. It's really in Collegiate's hands at this point.
We'll hope that's not too much pressure for them to deal with. It'll be the Thermite followed by the secondary EMP. Wacko with the lead off. 13 kills in just about 8 rounds. He is a machine that does not let up for anything. It looks like Wacko does have a player maybe just above his head, I think lurking towards the top of blue. Maybe that's over more towards the library area now, but could be a confrontation, I think, between those two. Looking to emerge soon, and yeah, there it is. But Wacko is so quick to the trigger. 14 kills now.
Well, AQP4, I mean, staying ahead of the gate was kind of a prerequisite for the chance of coming back. Duke shutting down a Selma. You're going to have somebody probably watching that stairs now, so it's not going to happen again. But getting access into the site, I mean, that is step 1. Now you actually need to get inside, execute. And it's going to take possibly like 1 more kill from Collegiate, or at least giving up map control that Collegiate can then push on into the site. And so far, EQB4, they're still holding on to this site, really like a bastion, not giving it on. Zez dangerously close. Mustard just having a great angle and almost opening that round wide open for Collegiate, but it's just going to have to be another kill and another time.
Must be about this time that EQV4 kind of realize Collegiate connoisseurs have so much to work with and so much time to game this one out. It looks like they are a bit concerned about coming into the mid-floor. There was one near the hatch inside dining. That's Duke, who has readjusted, but he's pretty much trapped here by the ace, and surely that movement will give him away. RNO is very patient. Wants to get over with this one. Wants to turn the game off. Mustard has the shot against Zach, and now they've got the shot against Duke. It's left just up to Zez. He's under a serious amount of pressure. Perfect coverage for the plant. No angle for the Warden. As soon as he steps into connector, he'll get blasted. That's just what happens. It's Spaz to finish it off, as the Collegiate connoisseurs will do it for us tonight here in SCS. A 7-1 victory after full regulation and almost full overtime. They advance, and EQV4 are sadly eliminated.
And they join Lycus Empire in the SCS grave. The two burn teams 0-3. Well, we still got to see what they brought to the table with EQV4, especially some of their players. I mean, Zez, looking at some of the fraggers on EQV4, maybe they'll find other teams. Maybe they'll stick and try it again in some more qualifiers and some more leagues around. But Collegiate Connoisseurs, they survive. They move on to the next round of SCS. And, well, I mean, a surprising third map. Not what I expected, probably not what you expected, but still, in the end, what most of us, or at least you and I, predicted.
Well, on Skyscraper, I did tell you it was going to go to 3 maps, so it was a total hairball prediction, but
You did,
hey, after what we saw on that one, it just felt like this is going to be one of those games where you got to go to the decider. EQV4 put in a huge amount of effort, not only in their late game comeback on the very first map, but their efforts 3 rounds in a row after the timeout they took on Bank to eventually even prompt needing Chalet. But by that time, the Collegiate Connoisseurs had their formula down to a science, and Wacko ran totally amok. No question he's the MVP of this series, as he's pretty much been the MVP of the Collegiate Connoisseurs so far.
Yeah, as now I believe I don't know if we have stats. I don't think we have replays. We're getting late into the night. Players and people have, said goodbyes. I think, though, we do have an interview, Sticula. I think
we will have an interview, yes. We're getting ready for the interview. But did you have any final overall thoughts on, any key takeaways from this match?
I want to see what Collegiate Connoisseurs, they've faced up against probably some of the top tier talent, and they faced up against what I guess is now considered the bottom of SCS, one of the first teams out. They're going probably up against, once again, that middle tier that they're kind of surviving on up. I want to see how they go up in a best of 3 up against some of these other teams. They could be a dark horse. They could surprise a lot of people. I think they have to clean up a lot of stuff. Like in the moments where they shine, they can really shine, but when they don't, they can really bury their heads in the sand, shoot their feet off, and continue to look like a team that really might not belong up against some of the teams like, Wichita Wolves, Aerial Rising, Parabellum, but they have got one more chance.
You do have another chance, but we have an interview ready. We're going to talk with one of our victors here, and it's Wacko from the Collegiate Connoisseurs. We saw your face behind the frags, which gave us some good insight into some of the different tidbits about the man that you are. I especially like the Lorax song as one of the favorite game day songs. It's got to be a good one that gets you ready. Were you pumping that one before this kicked off?
Absolutely, gotta listen to it every game, no matter what happens. Always the Lorax song.
So, coming into this roster, I think a lot of us, we've seen collegiate players, there is kind of a divide between amateur and collegiate. But, as far as everybody else on the roster, I've known them, I've heard about these players for some of the bigger schools, but you play for UMass Ambrose. There's not really much of a Power 5 school. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your experience.
Yeah, so I wanted to play collegiate. I'm in my second year of college, so I decided to form a team here at UMass, and it wasn't the best team. Can't lie, we're not very good, but we work together and we all have a great time, just like we're having right now. So just wanted to get back into T3 a little bit, so we did qualifiers and we happened to make it, and now we're here on SCS and we happen to win one. So thumbs up.
Yeah, thumbs up. And Collegiate was it's not your only comp experience. It comes to me from my memory, didn't you used to play for Intervention Esports all those days back?
Yeah, way back, 2020.
That was the good old days. But I did want to ask you a couple questions about the game itself. Obviously, totally different playstyle that you guys kind of came in there with. We saw the Dokkaebi that was going off like crazy. I felt like I couldn't go 5 seconds without hearing the logic bomb come on the headset. Is that something that was frustrating and difficult for you guys to deal with?
Yeah, like when we're dead, we can't get on cams. So if we're dead, we can't watch cams. So we're not really helping our team there. And then just hearing that noise when you're on the roam and they're gonna come and get you, it's a pain. So luckily we started defense that last map, so we didn't have to deal with it that much.
Yeah, I gave you a little bit of a leg up.
Oh yeah, they didn't play Dokkaebi, but anyway, but Dokkaebi, yeah, she's a good op to use, and we used her on attack just so we could fight back with our Dokkaebi calls. So yeah.
Right. So I noticed a lot of Glaz and Monty and Smokes. It almost felt like watching kind of like a year 5, year 6 LATAM game. What's up with the Glaz and all that going on?
We love utility and the Smoke and Glaz. Like, he's got a good kit. He's got a bearing 9, a sniper that can see through smoke, and if we ban the Warden, they can't really do much about it. So we use the Glaz as an advantage, much more today than previously. But it just works well for us. We have good Monty players, and we have me on Glaz, so it goes wrong sometimes, but right now we're seeing some winning with it, so we're happy to keep using it.
All right, well, I hope it goes well for you in the future. Congratulations on staying alive here in the elimination bracket. Do you have any words before we send you away?
I want to give a shout out to my whole team. Arno, Spaz, thank you for subbing in today. Isan, Mustard. I'll give a shout out to Kosa too. He's not here, he's back home. And all the collegiate players that are cheering us on. We're going to try to make you proud in this next one. And that's all for now.
All right, well, we will look forward to more from the Collegiate Nation. Thanks for stopping on by. Congratulations, and have a great night.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Alrighty, well, that was fun. I love to get the backstories on some of these players and kind of their histories. You know, you and I were still casting back together in the intervention esports days, back in the old Siege Cardinal League and the times that. And it's just a trip down memory lane. But with that being said, we're all done for tonight. It was an interesting game that we got and a real strong matchup there to give us all 3 maps down to the decider, including overtime. With that being said, it does end SCS for the week. We're taking tomorrow off to allow the teams to get ready for the invitational qualifiers that we've got going on here in North America. So from all of us here at SCS, saying so long, we'll see you on Monday.